legends of the thoroughbred are rooted in the deserts of Africa and the Middle East. Their modern ancestors no longer run for survival, but for achievement. Racing's Championship Day, the Breeders' Cup. In 1995, Cigar lived a fairy tale. A win in the Breeders' Cup Classic vaulted him to Horse of the Year. He would win 16 in a row before tasting defeat. But with 2 recent losses, Cigar has become vulnerable. Cigar's trainer, Bill Mott, knows the glorious run will soon come to an end with the champion's retirement. Their bond was forged long ago, but requires a victory today to keep the legend untarnished. Cigar has helped boost Jerry Bailey to America's top jockey, but with that achievement has come responsibility. He too feels the burden of Cigar's historic day. Wayne Lucas has won more Breeders' Cup races than any other trainer in history. Don't bet against him. Jockey Frankie Dettori has experienced Breeders' Cup success. Now Europe's hottest rider leads an impressive continental assault. All horses share a common bond, the will to run. Today, the best of those, the thoroughbreds, compete at the Breeders' Cup. It is the first city of Canada, the cosmopolitan metropolis of Toronto in the province of Ontario. With a metro area population of around 4 million, it ranks as Canada's largest. Yes, hockey is king here, but it is a town in love with sports, with a rich tradition of thoroughbred racing. And so Toronto is host to Breeders' Cup 13, the first championship day held outside the United States. And now, about 10 nautical air miles from downtown Toronto, what you're seeing is a sight unique in the thoroughbred world, an immense turf course outside the dirt track, with a limestone harness track dyed green just inside the dirt. Nothing anywhere else that looks like that. This is Woodbine, where the drama of the Breeders' Cup will be played out today. Racing fans already flocking to the Mutual machines. It is a beautiful afternoon. Forget all those jokes about the Canadian cold. 57 degrees. The main track fast, and the turf is good after rain earlier in the week. And since we're in a bilingual country, here are the conditions en français. Hello, everyone. I'm Tom Hammond, and welcome to Toronto and to the Breeders' Cup. Breeders' Cup 13, 7 races today worth $11 million. Not only the money up for grabs, but also championship honors in many of racing's different divisions. Of course, this is one of the most wide-open Breeders' Cup days ever. A lot of balanced fields that we'll see in action, good betting possibilities here. All eyes, of course, will be on Cigar in the Breeders' Cup Classic as his career nears its end. His place among racing's greats already assured, but suddenly appearing vulnerable at this stage of his career, and yet the favorite to become the first horse ever to win back-to-back Breeders' Cup Classics and to repeat as Horse of the Year. Here's the lineup for today. Now, our first Breeders' Cup race will be the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. It features a rivalry between 2 of America's best trainers, Nick Zito and Wayne Lucas. Then the sprint, a wide-open dash over 3/4 of a mile for $1 million. A Canadian horse has a chance. Then the Distaff. The durable Serena's Song headlines an evenly matched field. On to the lush grass course, where European invader Mark of Esteem is the favorite in the mile. 2 precocious colts will duel it out in the mile and a 16th juvenile for 2-year-olds Ordway and Boston Harbor. Back to the turf, a purse of $2 million with an unbelievable story surrounding the longest shot in Breeders' Cup history, Rick's Natural Star. Then the Classic, where Cigar has scared nobody away. A full field, 13 challengers for the mighty one. And we're pleased to introduce, well, he's not Cordell Stewart, the original Slash of the Steelers, not quite that versatile, but our own Slash, John Veach, trainer slash commentator. And we got a break on the weather. I was expecting maybe a little frost on the pumpkin there, but we did catch a break. John, I know you've raced horses here at Woodbine. Some unique characteristics to the turf course and to the dirt track. Tell us about them.
Right. The turf course is the biggest in North America. It is 1.5 miles. It is on the outside of the dirt course, as Tom has already explained. The thing about it is that you go uphill. Going into the first turn, you rise 3 feet. Going into the backstretch. Once you hit the backstretch, you run for about 5/8 of a mile, dropping down about 6 inches. But around the final turn, you drop 2 feet, 6 inches into a flat run to the wire. Now that's something that is very strange for American horses, but is very common in Europe. So the undulating course may be against the American horses, although it is a fine turf course and probably one of the very best in the world. The inner track, the main track, has a lot of sand in it, and that's a track that is very tiring, and it takes a horse that a lot of time either to acclimate themselves to it, or they have to be very fit when they come here. You can't just do it in a week or 10 days, and it might give the hometown horses a bit of an advantage, Tom.
There were 3 races run before the Breeders' Cup races here today, and speed horses have done very well so far. So here are the morning line odds for the Juvenile Fillies, with the entry of City Band in Cheyenne City at 6-1, Sharp Cat 7-2, Minister's Melody is 8. You see all the way down to Love That Jazz, and Hidden Reserve at 10-1. We build this as a battle of 2 of America's best trainers. For more on that, let's go down to Bob Newmeyer.
And a magnificent scene it is, Tom Hammond, around the weeping willow trees here in the paddock at Woodbine. By reputation, the main track here is supposed to play kindly to speed, or horses that run on or near the lead will be following that trend to see if it holds up here today. But you mentioned opening up with the Juvenile Fillies, and this is indeed a matchup between 2 friendly rivals, D. Wayne Lucas and Nick Zito. Believe it or not, they've accounted for the last 9, count them, Triple Crown races, Wayne winning 7, Nick winning 2. Wayne's going to send out 3 fillies here in the juveniles, Nick a pair. But over the history of the 12-year Breeders' Cup, it's been all Wayne Lucas, particularly in this event. He's won a dozen Breeders' Cup races, and his rival, Nick Zito, none. Zippity-doo-dah, looking to get off the schneid here in the Juvenile Fillies. Tom?
All right, Bob, we're underway at Breeders' Cup 13 from Toronto. Many celebrities are here. In fact, Mel Brooks is in the audience. Can young Frankenstein and Frau Blucher be far behind?
The 1996 Breeders' Cup is brought to you by Visa. It's everywhere you want to be. By Alberto VO5 for great hair. VO5 does so much. By Buick and your local dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. And by Mobil Motor Oil. At Mobil, we've been changing oil for over 125 years.
Welcome back to Woodbine, where the horses are on the track for the $1 million Juvenile Fillies. It's 4 2-year-old fillies at 1 mile and a 16th. Number 1, City Band, half of the Overbrook Farm entry, trained by Wayne Lucas, who has started 28 horses in the Juvenile Fillies, winning the race 3 times. City Band has won 2 in a row, most recently the 1 mile and a 16th Oakleaf Stakes at Santa Anita, around 2 turns. 1A is the other half of the entry, Cheyenne City. Overbrook Farm, owned by W.T. Young, reputed to be the richest man in Lexington, Kentucky, certainly its greatest philanthropist. This filly comes off a 13-length maiden win at Keeneland. Number 2 is Sharp Cat, ridden by the year's top jockey, Jerry Bailey, and another Lucas trainee, though a separate betting interest because she is owned by the Thoroughbred Corporation. Winner of the Del Mar Debutante and the Matron at Belmont, she was second to Storm Song in the Frisette. Of course, the Lucas horses didn't ship to Woodbine until Thursday this week. She has plenty of early speed, Sharp Cat. 3 horses, Minister's Melody, has the benefit of the Breeders' Cup's leading jockey. Pat Day has 8 wins on championship day. Trained by transplanted Irishman Niall O'Callaghan, Minister's Melody second to Love That Jazz in the Kentucky Cup Juvenile Fillies, with a bit of a rough trip there. The 4 horse is Runaway Mary, an Albert Coppola homebred. and ridden by Canadian Sandy Hawley, one of the favorites in this country for his exploits down below in the States. She has only a maiden win in 5 starts, is a late closer. 5 horses, the favorite, that's Storm Song, trained by Nick Zito for Cott Campbell's Dogwood Stable, which sells shares of its horses to the public for prices ranging from $28,000 to $65,000. They bought Storm Song for $100,000 at the Keeneland yearling sale. She's already earned more than that, and close to the pace she ran big in the Frisette when she had Lasix for the first time. Lark Whistle is the 6th, a Canadian hope based here at Woodbine under local jockey Mickey Walls. In her only race outside Canada, she was 3rd to Storm Song in Saratoga's Adirondack. 7 Dunbar Hill races for Sid and Jenny Craig, she of the weight loss centers. This filly earned a trip to the Breeders' Cup with a 6-length maiden win over a mile at Santa Anita. 8 horses Critical Factor, also off a maiden win at Santa Anita, trained by Myung Kwang Cho, who immigrated to the U.S. from Korea in the late 70s. The 9 horse Barbed Wire, another Woodbine-based filly, ridden by one of Canada's best, Emile Ramsamy, who was born in Trinidad, winner of over 500 races in the Caribbean before coming to Canada in 1990. This filly is sharp after her 2-turn victory here by 10 lengths in the Mazarin Stakes after racing on the grass her first 3 times. 10 horses Love That Jazz. She's the other Zito trainee. She's won her last 2, including a front-running victory in the Kentucky Cup Juvenile Fillies. And number 11 is Hidden Reserve, owned by Ogden Mills Phipps, chairman of the Jockey Club, and representing one of racing's greatest families. This Mr. Prospector sired filly has started only twice for Shug McGahee, winning a Belmont maiden race by 9 lengths. So that's your field for the Juvenile Fillies. Let's check the odds. Entry is 9-1, Sharp Cat 4-1, Minister's Melody second choice at 3-1. Storm Song is the 9-5 favorite. Dunbar Hill is 10, and all the rest are double digits. Well, back to call the races for us again, the man who has called every Breeders' Cup race. Tom Durkin, what's your spot look like here at Woodbine?
It's a nice place, but you got to stick your head out the window to see the horses. Actually, it's not all that bad, but when the horses come into the first turn for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly race, I'll have a pretty good view of them. And it could be a tactical situation for Wayne Lucas. He has 3 horses here that are really fast, City Band, Cheyenne City, and Sharp Cat. And maybe his strength in numbers could be his undoing, because they might be running at each other early. So the jockeys on Lucas's horse will have to be careful. They all like speed. Storm Song will be sitting a little bit off that expected quick pace, along with Minister's Melody.
All right, Tom, we try to keep him locked up in there. We only let him out on Halloween. Well, the last time we checked in with our handicappers, Bob Newmeyer and Mike Battaglia, Breeders' Cup preview day, they were 0 for the afternoon. They even got cigar beat. Guys, it's a fresh start.
Just warming up that day. We've saved our best stuff for the big day, Tom. But check out the partners tie. Mr. Politically Correct with flags representing virtually every country and every participant in this year's International Classic.
Well, you know, there's an interesting story about this tie. A friend of mine was wearing this tie. He met Bill Clinton. Clinton commented that he loved the tie. So my buddy was either going to send it to Clinton or give it to me to wear in the Breeders' Cup.
You have President Clinton's tie?
As soon as I'm done with it today, off to the White House. Yours going back on the tie rack.
Yeah, somewhere. I don't know. Let's get on with the selections, and I'm going to go with Sharp Cat in the opener here. Speed, speed, speed from the rail. This, after all, is a terrific filly that will show early lick in this race. She's one of 3 Wayne Lucas entrants today. And Wayne, after all, has won 3 out of 12 in this race, and here she is winning the matron wire to wire at a mile at Belmont. Good combination, Jerry Bailey and Wayne Lucas. Why not? Sharp Cat to open it up.
I agree that she's definitely the one to beat. She's really sharp right now. Storm Song, on the other hand, beat this horse last time out. This is a daughter of the 1990 Preakness winner, Summer Squall. Storm Song coming into this race in best shape she's ever been. In the Frisette, she just drew off from Sharp Cat. She was drawing away at the end. That race was this same distance. I hear she is winning the Frisette. She did it very impressively. Today's her second time on Lasix. I think she's an improving filly. I like the horse that's moving up. Got to go for Storm Song.
And she's the favorite, typical for you. But because we have Hearts of Gold, we're going to throw out a couple of bonus picks. And these are our sleepers, our long shots. Dunbar Hill at 10-1, Broker Maiden at Santa Anita on a 2-turn mile. I like her.
And Minister's Melody, I thought would be a little bit of a price. They're really betting on her, but she has a shot.
All right, there you have it, the Juvenile Fillies, as we open a great day of racing. Tom?
All right, guys, and good luck. And, of course, not that novel to have the best horses in the world racing in Canada. The likes of Man of War and Secretariat have raced in this country, and the occasion would be even sweeter should a Canadian horse win a Breeders' Cup race, and it's not all that far-fetched. For more on Team Canada, let's go to Trevor Denman.
Thank you, Tom. Well, as you said, over the years, Canada has certainly been very respectfully regarded throughout international racing with their horses and their jockeys. Perhaps the most famous rider they've ever exported out of Canada was no doubt Sandy Hawley, an Eclipse Award-winning rider in the United States. He was also the leading rider as what is generally regarded as the toughest jockeys colony in the world, that of Southern California. However, they've never had the spotlight on Canadian racing like they have it this afternoon for the Breeders' Cup. And should any Canadian horse win, or even a Canadian rider win this afternoon, it'll be one of the greatest days in Canadian racing history. The rugged Mounties, an image of Canadiana. In front of this backdrop, trainer Barbara Minchell brings Canada's hopes.
It's a worldwide event. You know, you've got horses from everywhere, and I hope the Canadians all show themselves well for Canadian racing. Just for it to work out that I've got this quality of horse, and the same year that the Breeders' Cups in Canada has just been really just a luck factor and very nice.
Barbed Wire, the Team Canada connection. Bred, trained, owned, and ridden by Canadians.
We've got a good, strong representation this year. Definitely is going to mean a strong message to show the rest of the world, especially the United States. We are very capable of breeding a good horse, producing a good horse, and a horse, you know, good and able to win a Breeders' Cup race, and we're looking forward to start it off in the first race.
Barbed Wire carrying the hopes of Canada in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. It's coming up. Welcome back to Woodbine. Juvenile Fillies coming up. That's the race at 1 1/16. It'll take many of these fillies around 2 turns for the first time in their career. A little more than 1 complete circuit of the oval on a speed favoring track. Generally have to be close on the turn for home to win the race. And the highest percentage of winners at this distance come from just off the early pace. An update of the odds finds that Storm Song still a solid 8-5 favorite. Sharp Cat at 4-1. Minister's Melody at 7-2. And the final member of our broadcast team is our former jockey, Greg McCarron, who is on horseback. Greg, what about these 2-year-old fillies? Many of them inexperienced. Everything going all right so far?
Tom, they sure are. Everybody's acting real good. The one that caught my eye the most is the filly my brother Chris is on, Dunbar Hill. That's a filly trained by Ron McAnally. She doesn't look like a 2-year-old. She's a great, big, robust thing. And as far as the racetrack goes, Tom, John's right. It is pretty sandy, but it's got a pretty good bounce to it. I think we're going to look at some pretty quick times today. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Greg, thank you very much. And we should point out that Greg's eye usually is drawn to the horse that his brother Chris McCarron is riding. So history about to be made as the Breeders' Cup has come outside the States for the first time. Woodbine in Canada, ready for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. And for the call of the race, let's go upstairs to Tom Durkin. Tom?
Striding into the gate now, City Band. And Love That Jazz. Relatively short run into the first turn here. Still behind the gate is Cheyenne City. Much of the early speed in this Juvenile Fillies should come from City Band, Cheyenne City, and Sharp Cat. All trained by one D. Wayne Lucas. Also in behind the starting gate right now is Hidden Reserve. Hidden Reserve moving in. Ready for a start in the Juvenile Fillies. And they're off! Sharp Cat off to a sharp beginning. There goes Love That Jazz, who's looking for the early lead. Love That Jazz streaks to the front. Mike Smith guns her to the lead, and she outhooks them as they move into the first turn. Love That Jazz with a sharp early move will be the early leader. City Band, Sharp Cat taken wide by her stablemate. City Band, Hidden Reserve is close to the pace on the outside. She's running in 4th. Dunbar Hill riding the rails in 5th. And the Canadian filly Barbed Wire is now 6th. She's about 7 lengths from the lead. Storm Song is now running 7th toward the inside, followed by Cheyenne City. The field moving up the backstretch. Love That Jazz now with the 2-length lead. Zipped a quarter in 22 and 3/5 seconds. Sharp Cat is running in 2nd. In between horses, Minister's Melody now. unexpectedly close to the pace. Minister's Melody is running in third. Hidden Reserve is fourth on the outside. City Band fifth toward the rail. Storm Song draws within 5 lengths of the lead as the field moves into the far turn. Then it's Barbed Wire and farther back, Lark Whistle, who's followed by Cheyenne City, Dunbar Hill toiling at the back of the pack, and Critical Factor. Runaway Mary is the trailer. A taxing opening half mile here in 46 seconds flat. And Love That Jazz is threatening to go all the way on the lead. She has a 3-length advantage. But here comes Hidden Reserve on the outside. Minister's Melody. And Storm Song is cut loose. She swings into action on the outside. Sharp Cat Nut today in the field turns for home. It's Love That Jazz trying to hold off the oncoming Storm Song. And Storm Song takes the lead and runs away from Love That Jazz and all the rest. Critical Factor is third. It's going to be Storm Song in a championship performance. Totally outclassed them today. She wins by 4.5 lengths. Love That Jazz was second. And Long Shot Critical Factor winds up third. Craig Perrette with Infectionist Hat for Storm Song, a champion filly, flawlessly ridden by Craig Perrette this afternoon. The final time was 1:43.3.
Storm Song, the unofficial winner, sweeping by to the 2-year-old filly championship by virtue of this win in the Juvenile Fillies. And for Nick Zito, the hex is off. The monkey is off his back. Nick Zito's first Breeders' Cup win in 12 outings. Cott Campbell of Dogwood Stable right there next to him as Love That Jazz threatened to steal the race. Another Zito trainee before the favorite Storm Song came running late. These two had opened up a wide distance on the rest of the field. It was going to be between Love That Jazz or Storm Song, and Craig Perrette getting Storm Song to the front, takes a peek back over his shoulder, shows her the whip just to let her know it's still there, keeps her mind on her business with one tap, and hand rides her to victory in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. You think Nick Zito isn't happy? His emotions are never far from the surface. And an embrace for Cott Campbell as they celebrate victory in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Well, there's usually been close finishes. 3 of the last 5 decided by a head. This one a runaway. Greg McCarron with a winner.
Yeah, Tom, Craig, congratulations. You started the day off just right.
Oh, thanks, Greg. It was terrific, terrific.
It looks like she just exploded for you at the head of the stretch.
I tell you, Greg, her last couple of races, she's just been fantastic. She put that race right back together today, and she's the queen.
She is for now, that's for sure. Congratulations once again.
Thanks, Greg.
Back to you, Tom.
All right, Greg. Nick Zito runs 1-2 in the Juvenile Fillies. Storm Song on her way to a championship. Back to the Breeders' Cup after these words from your local station. Storm Song has become the 6th favorite to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. A 2-year-old filly by Summer Squall out of Humalong by Papiano, bred in Kentucky by Farish and Phipps. And there you see the prices in Canadian dollars. And Nick Zito running 1-2 with Storm Song and Love That Jazz taking almost all the money in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. And for Wayne Lucas, some of his horses working against each other, Trevor Denman, especially going into that first turn.
A lot of trouble in the first turn, and in fact a lot of trouble just after the start as well. It's obvious that the riders want to get over. It's been considered as a speed favoring track, and let's take a look right here at number 7, Dunbar Hill. He's going to come out of this gate right here, coming out from the outside. Love That Jazz out of the number 10 stall, and what's Love That Jazz going to make a beeline over here, and Chris McCarron on Dunbar Hill is going to have to take up pretty severely, as we'll see right now. Once again, I think the riders are emphasizing on speed, and they're ducking across pretty fast, and those inside horses could be in trouble. And then there's a lot of trouble right here as well. Number 1, City Band, who's racing in the 2nd spot, and his stable companion Cheyenne City on the outside. Those two fillies in pretty tight here. A little bit of trouble, and they're going very wide into the turn. You see City Band, and that for Sharp Cat, ironically enough, the other D. Wayne Lucas horse out there. So trouble at the start and into that first turn, particularly bad for Sharp Cat, who was carried very wide into the turn. Once they moved on to the back stretch, it was pretty clean. Here's the stretch run here. Here's the winner. Here was the pace setter, Love That Jazz, who's going to fade out of it. And just a very convincing, very easy win by this daughter of Summer Squall, Storm Song, just coaxed home by Craig Perrette. A very good win here. And the speed horse, Love That Jazz, finishing 2nd. So that was the finish after a very troubled start in today's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Tom?
There is Storm Song, who gave Craig Perret his 4th Breeders' Cup victory. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
Thanks, Tom. And with an exuberant Cot Campbell, the owner of the Dogwood Stables, and to make the trophy presentation, the chairman of the Ontario Jockey Club, Mr. George Hendry.
Well, Cot, it gives me immense pleasure to present to you this wonderful trophy, Breeders' Cup Championship trophy, the very first ever to be run in this great country of Canada.
Oh, and brother, are we glad to have it. Thank you. Dogwood appreciates it, all my partners, and I want to thank Zito for the great job he did, and and all the crowd back in Aiken for getting this baby started.
Great, Cot. And let's bring Nick in here. Talk a little bit. Nick, your first Breeders' Cup win. We knew it was coming. We knew that this filly ran a fantastic race in the Frizette. She duplicated that effort, maybe even better day. She had a lot of trouble.
Well, she's a terrific filly, Mike, and obviously she's champion. I don't know who else they'd give it to, so it's great. I want to thank God as usual and thank everybody that backs me, and what can I say? It's a great feeling. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nick and Cot, and no doubt that this is the champion 2-year-old filly.
Lovely work.
Back to you, Tom.
All right, Mike, no question about that after this tremendous victory in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Storm Song, Love That Jazz, and Critical Factor as you see the official order of finish in the first Breeders' Cup race of the day. The Juvenile Fillies with the Canadian Hope Barbed Wire fading to last. So first race on foreign shores in the books, and it belongs to Nick Zito. Got to feel happy for that guy, one of the most popular and capable trainers around.
Well, it looks as if for finally the tables are turning for Nick. Wayne has had all the luck in the world in the Juvenile Filly, and now he had bad luck. Going into the first turn, he was virtually eliminated with all 3 of his horses, and Zito prevailed to win and to finish second. So a tremendous effort on Zito's part, and bad luck for Wayne Lucas.
And interesting, too, for Cot Campbell and Dogwood Stable. They really pioneered getting people that are not involved in racing into the game. You can buy a share, and you don't have to do anything else. Just put up your money. You become one of many owners. You can put up as little as $28,000 all the way up to $65,000. There are multiple owners of all these Dogwood horses, all able to share in the thrill of victory, especially one this immense, a Breeders' Cup victory, which will carry Storm Song to the 2-year-old filly championship. So race 1 in the Breeders' Cup card into the books. And now we'll turn our attention. Of course, you've got to shift gears rapidly here at the Breeders' Cup. And one race comes after another, and next we'll have the sprint at 6 furlongs. And here is the morning line. Capote Bell, the filly, at 4-1. Lead is Justice, late runner at 6-1. Criolito, supplemental entry at 12-1. Honor and Glory. Many like Honor and Glory. A Lucas horse, 3-1. And Langfur, carrying the hopes of Canada, is at 5-1. Well, his trip to the top of his profession has been laced with controversy, including a suspension for misuse of the whip. But now, in the wake of his sister's death, Corey Nakatani attempts to carry on, backed by a heritage of adversity.
In 1942, during World War II, the U.S. government converted Santa Anita Racetrack into internment camps that held 20,000 Japanese Americans for more than 6 months. Jockey Corey Nakatani has raced at Santa Anita since he was 16 years old. He has family that were held in that camp.
When my family first came over from Japan, they were put, my grandma and grandpa were put into a concentration camp in Colorado when they first were here. And my father was born in Colorado in the camp, and then that year they transferred him here to Santa Anita. When I first started riding, I really had thoughts about, you know, my grandfather and the things that had happened to them. And that's the whole thing behind me is I'm going to do the best I can do in horse racing. And hopefully I can make up in my mind for my grandfather what they took away from him.
On October 2nd, Nakatani raced as he usually does at Santa Anita, but he was riding in a haze because just the day before, his younger sister, Dawn, was murdered. The investigation is ongoing, and the only suspect, Dawn's ex-boyfriend and father of her son, was released.
When you know somebody's committed a crime and somebody's committed murder especially, and they're going to get off because of a little technicality of maybe the investigation, something that they did wrong in it or something. I don't believe in that.
With the suspect still at large, Nakatani and his family live in daily fear about the possibility of still another incident.
When you know who's done it and they can't do anything to him, you know, and it really puts a lot of hardship on your family because the fact that this guy's loose now, and you know, you fear for your life, you know, and it's really tough on you. You really got to look over your shoulder all the time.
In a few moments, Corey Nakatani will emerge from the jocks room here at Woodbine. He has never won a Breeders' Cup race before. He is truly one of the premier riders in this game. And he has dedicated all 7 rides today in the Breeders' Cup in the memory of his murdered sister. Tom?
All right, Bob, and the fans here at Woodbine like Corey's chances in the sprint. They have made his mount Lee de Justice the 5-2 favorite in betting at the moment. And there is Lee de Justice getting ready to have the saddle and girth applied for the sprint. And speaking of the fans here picking winners, we'd like to invite all of you out there in the audience that have computers to join us online. You can pick your winners on the internet. You can pick all 7 races at MSNBC. That's MSNBC.com. Right up until post time, you can pick your favorites there on the internet. So join us on the net, Interactive Breeders' Cup, www.msnbc.com. We'll spotlight the internet picks throughout the day on our telecast. So get to your computer, get your pick. Maybe you like Corey Nakatani and Lee de Justice. They're the current favorites for the sprint coming up from Canada. MetLife Blimp Snoopy 1 is cruising above Woodbine to provide aerial coverage of today's Breeders' Cup for NBC Sports. The 2 MetLife Blimps combined will attend over 70 sporting events and television specials this year. Well, while we were away, that paddock began to fill up with connections, and Corey Nakatani made his appearance. Tough time for him, but he is looking for his first Breeders' Cup win. He's had success here at Woodbine wearing one of those Breathe Right strips. He's going to take every advantage he can get. He may need it too on Lee de Justice. He's the favorite, but he's somewhat of a character, somewhat unpredictable of what he can do at times. There are the current odds, and Appealing Skier and Lord Carson, 2 speedballs on the rail and in post 2 at 6-1. Capote Bell, the filly, at 9-2. Lee de Justice, 3-1 favorite at the moment. 7-1 on Honor and Glory. That may be an overlay. And Lang Fuhr, the late closing Canadian horse, is at 7-1. Well, as we enter Breeders' Cup 1996, Breeders' Cup 13, Wayne Lucas didn't have success in the Juvenile Fillies, but has a big lead over Shug McGahee. 12 wins to 7 for Shug. All-time leader in Breeders' Cup victories, Wayne Lucas, and he is dueling Bill Mott for the money title this year. Should Lucas win, it would be his 13th U.S. money-winning title. Of course, today's outcome could have a lot to do with that battle between Mott and Lucas for leading trainer honors. Bill, as we look down at the horses in the paddock, Bob Newmeyer's down there with him. Bob, things going all right so far?
Smooth as silk, Tom. I know a lot of the local fans here at Woodbine really pulling for Lang Fuhr in this race. He's number 11. The problem with this horse is he's a 7-furlong specialist. He's breaking from an extreme outside post. And in the history of the Breeders' Cup, only 2 horses have won this race without ever having won at 6 furlongs. Lang Fuhr has never won at this sprint distance, but he's razor sharp. He won 2 sensational stakes in New York. And I know a lot of the local fans here in Toronto are hoping that Lang Fuhr can pull it off today for the local hopefuls. Tom?
Let's go to Mike Battaglia. He's also in the paddock chasing somebody, it looks like. Maybe it's Wayne Lucas.
We're right here with Wayne Lucas. He's given some riding instructions. And Wayne, you had a little bit of trouble in that first race. Your horse has gotten some trouble. The sprint, always a race where you have to stay out of trouble. How are your horses coming up?
Well, hopefully we'll have enough speed to do that. We didn't get away well in the other one, but we didn't run well either. Mike, we just, our horses didn't get into the race and didn't show what I expected. I mean, we're obviously disappointed, but it's like a poker game. They deal the cards every time. It's a new hand, a new event, and we'll see if we can do a little better here.
Well, you've got a couple of aces here. Lord Carson likes to go to the front. Honor and Glory lay a little bit back off of the pace. That really ought to help your chances.
I think so. It gives us a little bit of variation. At least we're not just perfectly all speed or all come from behind. So we got some, you know, we can cover our bases a little bit. Again, the trip is so important here, and it gets down to pretty much a jockey's race in a lot of ways, the sprint.
What about the track? Have you noticed any bias either way?
I haven't yet. I think that it's too early to tell in the day. I think it's playing very well. They've done a great job of getting it ready, and I would hate to use that as an excuse at this point.
All right. Thanks a lot, Wayne. Good luck.
Gotta go to work.
Back to you, Tom.
All right, Mike, we've talked about how evenly matched this sprint is. The favorite, Lead is Justice, is only 3-1. And as we said, this horse is somewhat of a character, acts up at times. And, of course, California-based. So Trevor Demon has seen Corey Nakatani and Lead is Justice many times. Trevor, so far, looks pretty well behaved.
Well, my all-time favorite horses. He is one of my all-time favorite horses because he has so much character out there. He's a kind of horse that's got a mind and a spirit of his own. You don't tell him what to do, he tells you what to do. Early on in his career, when they asked him to run faster in typical Lead is Justice fashion, he used to run slower. That was great for him, but not very good for his connections. So they went out and got a special exercise rider, Carl Webster, who dedicated a lot of time to Lead is Justice and got him to cooperate. And very soon, Lead is Justice was one of the fastest horses in America. But life was a little boring for him, and he decided to come up with another idiosyncrasy. He decided this time, I'm not going to go in the starting gate. Then he just used to refuse to load. So out they went and got someone else to cooperate with him, and that was perhaps the best assistant starter in California, Zane Bays. And Zane worked with Lead is Justice and got him out of that bad habit, and now Lead is Justice is almost like a little puppy dog down at the gate. So thanks to some extra special help, Lead is Justice in with a huge chance to win today's Breeders' Cup Sprint. However, he has one big thing against him. He likes to come from dead last. He doesn't show any early speed, and it looks like this track might be favoring the front runners, so that really could work against him. But he's just the kind of horse who would like to buck that speed bias and come from last and prove everyone wrong. Certainly a very favorite horse of mine, and one of the most favorite horses in California, Lead is Justice. Tom?
All right, Trevor, you saw trainer Janine Sahadi walking alongside there for a moment, the big 6-year-old gray. And there is the hope of Canada, the 11 horse, Lang Fuhr, a son of the great Danzig. He's never won at 6 furlongs. He's 0 for 2 at that distance. He prefers the longer 7 furlong distance. Comes off a win in the 7 furlong Vosburg handicap at Belmont Park. And as we've been saying, he is a late closer. He has certainly had plenty of speed to shoot at, I think, in this sprint. But does the track favor speed? It's all to be played out here. Certainly the Canadian hopes riding with Lang Fuhr and jockey Jorge Chavez in this race. Let's check the current odds for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. 6-1 on Appealing Skier, the 3-year-old. Lord Carson is 5-1. Capote Bell, the filly, 9-2. Lead is Justice continues to be the lukewarm 3-1 favorite. Honor and Glory at 6, and Lang Fuhr currently at 7-1. Now they're making their trip around the paddock. Lang Fuhr and the others will be shortly coming onto the track for the post parade when we return to Woodbine in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. There's a mass exodus from the paddock as the connections of horses in the sprint make their way back to their seats in preparation for that $1 million 6 furlong dash. Only 2 favorite wins in the first 12 runnings of the sprint. In fact, the average winning payoff is $25. So plenty of opportunity to get a price on a horseshoe like here in the sprint. And interesting, 2 speedballs down at the rail. The 3-year-old Appealing Skier and the 4-year-old Lord Carson in posts 1 and 2.
Right, and Appealing Skier, who was 15-1 on the morning line, is going out at 6-1 now. So a lot of people like the way he's training, like the way he's coming up to this race off a little bit of a rest with a victory in Kentucky. Lord Carson has shown a tremendous amount of speed, but you've got Lang Fuhr. As you said, he's gone 7/8 of a mile the last 3 times. All 3 of them are victories, but one of those victories was here at Woodbine. So he likes this racetrack. Although 7/8 is his best distance, he's running at 3/4 today, and maybe that one trip over the racetrack will help him.
You know, Honor and Glory might be a bit of an overlay here, John. 3-1 on the morning line. Last time we checked, I think it's 7-1. Are you surprised by that?
Oh, I am somewhat surprised because he seems to have the perfect style. And the sprint has been probably the most competitive and probably the most difficult to diagnose year after year. Honor and Glory has a tremendously good style for being victorious going 3/4 of a mile in this race. And that is that he's a stalker. And a stalker is a horse that's very close to the pace and can make his move anytime.
All right, here are the horses. One is Appealing Skier, bred in Florida by Harry Mangurian, and Florida breds have won this race 4 times. Jockey Mike Smith has twice won the Eclipse Award as top jockey. His 3-year-old colt blazed a victory in 108-1 in the Kentucky Cup Sprint. 2 is Lord Carson, owned by 81-year-old David Reynolds of Richmond, Virginia, whose father founded Reynolds Aluminum, Reynolds Rep. Despite fast early fractions, he went wire to wire in Belmont's Boojum handicap. Number 3 is Capote Bell. Can she beat the boys? She's run only once against them, beating all but Appealing Skier in the Kentucky Cup Sprint. Jockey John Velasquez began riding in Puerto Rico, then became a New York protege of Angel Cordero. This filly has won 2 of 3 at 6 furlongs. Number 4 is Iktimal, owned by the ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Maktoum Al Maktoum, oldest of the 4 brothers who dominate international racing. Based in Great Britain, this colt makes his first start on dirt today. The 5 horse is the Gray Lead is Justice, 3rd in last year's sprint, also ridden then by Nakatani. Trained by 33-year-old Janine Sahadi, a sprint closer. He'll have plenty of pace to run at today. 6 horse is Lakota Brave. Lakota Brave is a 7-year-old based in California. It's his 3rd start after his 6-month layoff. He won the ancient title at Santa Anita 3 weeks ago. He's 6 for 9 at this 3/4 of a mile distance. 7 horse Boundless Moment earned his Breeders' Cup moment with a win at Bay Meadows. Despite being bumped early, he went 6 furlongs in 108-4. 8 is Criolito, Argentine bred and trained by Bob Baffert for Bob and Beverly Lewis, who also owns Serena's Song. Hall of Famer Chris McCarron up, a supplemental entrant at a cost of $200,000, a troubled 3rd in the ancient title. The 9 is Honor and Glory. Lucas trained from Michael Tabor, who used to own British betting shops. He and Lucas combined with champion Thunder Gulch. This 3-year-old colt is game in the money 9 of 11 starts this year, despite an 18th place finish in the Derby before he turned to sprinting. 10 horse Friendly Lover, owned by Frank Stronach, who washed dishes at a hospital here in Ontario before entering the tool and die business. Now he owns the most diversified automobile component supplying company in the world, employing 18,000. Friendly Lover would be a similar rags to riches story today. 11 is Lang Fuhr, named for a suburb of Danzig, Poland. His sire is Danzig. Schickendans, the owner, born in Germany, now lives in Canada where this homebred is based. 12 is Paying Dues in the Mutual Field. 2 horses here for the price of 1. Paying Dues beaten less than 2 lengths by Lakota Brave in his last start, but hasn't won since June. And the last horse, 13, Just Sees Whirl, also in the Mutual Field, ridden by Julie Crone. Only 3 starts this year with a win way back in February and starting in post position 13. So there's your field for the sprint, and we'll recheck the odds. Appealing Skier 7, Lord Carson at 5-1, Capote Bell drawing some attention at 9-2. And Elite Justice continues to be the favorite. Lang Fuhr is at 7-1. Elite Justice galloping off by himself. He needs to collect his thoughts before he'll be backed into the starting gate. We're 4 minutes away from the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Back at Woodbine, ready for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. 6 furlongs. That's the most common American racing distance. It begins on the backstretch, 1 turn to the finish. And here at Woodbine, 38% of 6 furlong winners go wire to wire. 75% or so press the pace. Mike Battaglia off to a good start in the handicapping race. Guys, 8 of the last 10 years of filly or mare has been part of the exacta. What about your choices here?
That's right, Tom. And historically, this has been a very tough race to handicap, and it's been a very close race. 9 out of the 12 winners, the winning margin has been 3/4 of a length or less. So expect a close finish. Bob, who do you like?
Expect bombs away. Tom mentioned the fillies. I'm going to go with a filly in this race. Her name is Capote Bell. She's marvelously consistent. She has this early speed and has a nice post position in here today. 7 starts, 4 wins, 3 seconds. Her most impressive run, the 7 furlong test stakes at Saratoga. Splits of, get this, 21-2. 43-1, a sizzling 107-4, 121 and change. Fillies have won this race 3 times. Let's go with another one today.
Well, I'm going to go for the older colt, the 4-year-old colt, Lord Carson. This horse in the best form of his life. He's won over 4 different racetracks this year. He's really coming up to the race great. His 2 races that he ran in Kentucky at Turfway Park both times, and his race last time out in the Boojum, I don't think there's a horse in the country could have beat him. Flat speed. He's going to try to go to the front and stay there.
Those are 2 horses horses that will run on or near the lead are sleepers. Mine will come off the pace. He is Lakota Brave. He's up there at a juicy 21-1 from California, and he's got an excellent record at 6 wins and 9 starts.
And mine's Lida Justice, who is getting a lot of play. Back to you, Tom.
All right, guys, and Lida Justice will be backed into the starting gate. I think it happened already while the guys were picking the winners. And here's how it went. Greg McCarron, as we watched Lida Justice a moment ago being backed in, other than that, is everything okay out there?
Tom, he backed in just as easy as you please. He had a guy on either side and one on his head, and he did it just like he has done in the past, just nice and calm. And so far, everybody's acting real good. Right now, Capote Bell is balking just a little bit going in, and I would challenge anyone to guess that she was a filly in here. She looks great. Back to you, Tom.
All right, 10 runnings of the sprint has produced the sprint champion. And for Breeders' Cup 13, Janine Sahadi, the trainer of Lida Justice, shows the strain of nerves before the start of the race. Her horse is the favorite at the moment at 7-2. And for the call of the Breeders' Cup sprint, let's go to Tom Durkin.
Well, there is one horse behind the starting gate, although he doesn't know it. Actually, two. There is Jesse's World. And the horse that doesn't know it's got a blindfold on. That is England's Ictimal. Some horses have a fear of the starting gate, and you can't be afraid of something you can't see. So the technique is to put a blindfold on, and that tack worked very well. Jesse's World and Julie Crone, the final ones to load into the starting gate. They're in the gate. And they're off in the sprint. Paying Dues gets out first on the outside, but here comes Appealing Skier and Lord Carson. Lord Carson grabs the early lead. Appealing Skier trying to match strides with that speedy one. Honor and Glory is third. The filly Capote Bell is fourth by length and a half. Lakota Brave is running in fifth. Paying Dues hard ridden sixth on the outside. Priolita was seventh, and he's about 7 lengths from the lead. Ictimal riding the rails in eighth. Long Shot Boundless Moment is now ninth, and on the far outside Jesse's World is 10th. Friendly Lover, the Canadian colt, Lang Fear is second to last, and the late running Lida Justice is 14th and a trailer. Sensational quarter, 21 3/5 seconds by Lord Carson, and Honor and Glory is moving to him. Paying Dues keeping pace on the outside third. Appealing Skier has backpedaled to fourth. Lakota Brave is finding his best ride. He's fifth on the outside. Lida Justice is coming up the inside. He's coming powerfully as well. Capote Bell, Ictimal trying to thread his way through. It's still Lord Carson tenaciously trying to hold out the game. Honor and Glory. Lida Justice, a great blur in the stretch. It's Lida Justice, a last to first winner of the sprint. Paying Dues, the long shot finishing second. Honor and Glory was third. And a jubilant Corey Nakatani riding the rails the whole way. The pace set up very well. 21 3, 44 flat. And he tied a track record that has not been passed here in 23 years. 108 3. Janine Sahadi, happy about that.
A jubilant Janine Sahadi, the trainer, and what about the thoughts of Corey Nakatani? His first Breeders' Cup win in a race dedicated to his slain sister. Lida Justice, Nakatani had him moving up the rail, dead last going into the turn for home, began picking up horses with a furious rush. Here they are. As they come down through the lane, it looks like Lord Carson may be able to steal the race after stalking Appealing Skier and then taking command early on. Here it's Honor and Glory that presents the challenge on the outside. Honor and Glory, we said, was a big overlay. The Lucas trainee puts that shadow rolled nose in front right here. But it will be the gray horse Lida Justice that comes rushing on the outside, taken clear off the rail now by Nakatani and getting home for the victory. First ever for jockey Corey Nakatani. Lida Justice, who was third in last year's sprint. The furious finish didn't quite get there, and here is how sweet this victory was. Let's go to Greg McCarron with Corey Nakatani on the winner.
Thanks, Tom. Congratulations, Corey. That must have been one heck of a ride coming from last like that.
I tell you, all I was thinking about was my sister and my family back home, and I want to thank everybody in the horse industry for sticking behind me. It's been a tough couple of weeks, and I tell you, it's the greatest feeling, and thank God it's for you, Don.
Congratulations again, Tori. It must feel great. What a touching story. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Nakatani taking Lida Justice from last to first in the final start of the 6-year-old gray horse's career. From last to first, Lita Justice equaling the track record 108-3 with a victory in the $1 million Breeders' Cup Sprint for trainer Janine Sahadi.
The 1996 Breeders' Cup is brought to you by Alberto VO5 for great hair. VO5 does so much. By the NASDAQ stock market. By Pringles, so fresh, once you pop, you can't stop. And by the Breeders' Cup Championship, it's racing's greatest day.
Back at Woodbine, where we've seen the first Breeders' Cup winner trained by a female trainer, Janine Sahadi, the trainer of Lita Justice, making his final start in the colors of the Evergreen Farms, a 6-year-old horse by El Gran Senor from Kenmare by Kenmar, bred in Kentucky by Swetnam Stud and Mrs. Julian Rogers, now to be retired to stud and going out with a bang. The first female trainer to train a Breeders' Cup winner, Janine Sahadi. And Trevor Denman, hats off to a marvelous ride by Corey Nakatani.
Oh, that was just a classic. Any young rider out there who wants to be an apprentice jockey, take this race and watch it over and over and over. This is the way to ride a racehorse. Here is Corey Nakatani right here on Lita Justice. He's already saved a whole lot of ground. Out on the lead, we have Lord Carson, and then up alongside of him, the horse who's eventually going to finish third, Honor and Glory. Here is the 12. That is Paying Dues, who's going to get up for second. But again, watch the grey right here. Lita Justice getting a dream run through. Corey Nakatani just shaking the reins at him. Once again, this guy's got a mind of his own. You hit him and he'll just put the brakes on. But Corey knows that, and he's just hand riding him all the way by there. Looks to his right. He knows now he's got it in the bag. And there's the salute. Corey Nakatani, Lita Justice, Janine Sahadi, and a whole victorious team will go to the winner's circle. And there they are right now for today's Breeders' Cup Sprint. On his day, there's nobody in the world who can outsprint Lita Justice, and he went against a so-called speed bias this afternoon to come from last in a perfectly timed win. Tom?
All right, Trevor. I predict all the jockeys are going to be wearing those strips on their nose now. Nakatani did it, and Lita Justice, the highest price favorite ever in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, equals the track record at 108-3 with his victory in the sprint, Paying Dues and Honor and Glory, finishing second and third. Corey Nakatani, his ancestors of Japanese descent, if you saw the feature, interned at Santa Anita in a American concentration camp. That's not what they called it, but that's what it amounted to. His sister slain a month or so ago. He's dedicated all his rides today to her. And a kiss there for Lita Justice, and why not? Horse and rider combining for a brilliant victory in the sprint, and Nakatani with one of the most correctly judged rides in Breeders' Cup history. Bob Newmeyer's with him.
I'm with him now, Tom, and I was with him this morning when we talked about your sister and we talked about winning a Breeders' Cup race. I know that it's just a couple of minutes after this thrill for you, but could you at all verbalize your emotions now, Cor?
I tell you, it's all for Dawn. I tell you, without Dawn, I tell you, she does a lot of things for me, and she still will, and she always will. And I thank the Lord that she's in a better place than we are now, and hopefully that she's resting in peace.
This was a stirring stretch drive when you came under the wire. That whip was cocked to the heavens and swaying it in the breeze in celebration. What were your thoughts when you came under the finish line at that very point, Corey?
I knew that Dawn got me there. That's what it was all about. I knew it all the way along. It's really hard on me, but I'm trying to be strong, and I want to thank Breathe Aid because I've had a cold and my nose has been all plugged up, and this thing cleared me up really good. So I tell you, it's an unbelievable feeling. I know what happened to my sister, and thank the Lord that He gave me the opportunity that I had today, and thank everybody in the horse racing industry that gave me these opportunities. I can't say anything more.
The story goes on, of course, the investigation goes on. Some relief from a family that is still, I'm told, in fear of reprisal from this man that's still at large.
Well, I think that he's going to go through a lot of problems too. You know, he's going to be hiding. There's a lot of things that's involved, and I just hopefully that God will touch him someday, and hopefully that he can be saved, or something can happen for him, because, you know, I don't feel like he did it mentally himself. I feel either some drugs had something to do with it, or something out of the ordinary happened, and I'm just hoping that, like I said, I'm just going to keep on praying, and that justice will be served.
Go get him.
Great, thanks. Bob.
Justice will be served, ironically, on Leader Justice. Tom?
All right, Bob. And let's go down to the presentation now and join Mike Battaglia.
Thanks, Tom. And with the winning owner, Mr. and Mrs. C.N. Ray, trainer Janine Sahadi, to make the presentation, Deputy Premier of the Province of Ontario, Mr. Ernie Eves.
Janine, Mr. Mrs. Ray, it's pleased to see you here today. We've got a fantastic day. Great to have the Breeders' Cup in Ontario, and it's my pleasure to present you with the Breeders' Cup trophy. I understand a new track record. Congratulations.
Am I a happy boy? I can't talk anymore. I hollered all the way to the winner's circle.
And Mr. Ray, the owner of Sea Ray Boats, what kind of motor did you have on this horse today to set that track record?
Yeah, that was a turbo, I think.
That was a turbo. Yeah. And Janine, we were at the top of the Ferris wheel at the press party. You were telling me this horse is doing great. He loves this racetrack. Did you envision a track record?
Well, I just, I love this horse so much, and I said all week I wouldn't trade places with anybody, and I'm so proud of him.
You've done just a great job with his last race, right? He's being retired to stud after this one?
Yes, he's going to Kentucky, probably Monday or Tuesday.
That's a great place for him and a great ride by Corey Nakatani.
He's going to be a heck of a father.
Yeah. This horse has been a great team effort, and I want to thank Wes Champagne for those beautiful shoes he put on, and Corey for all of his hard work, and obviously Carolyn Cien, who I just adore, and all my boys at the barn, and Miguel, and I'm having a ball.
Great job to everybody. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Mike, here's the official order of finish. In the sprint, Leader Justice paying due his honor and glory. Lord Carson faded to 4th. Capote Bell in 7th place. Many like the filly. Lying Fear of the Canadian Hope only could manage 8th. Peeling Skier faded to 10th, and Jesse's Whirl brought up the rear. Well, it is Halloween weekend, isn't it? The Gray Ghost. Leader Justice. Here's the head-on view. Keep your eye on the Gray and Corey Nakatani, because here they come. Nakatani gets him clear on the outside after moving up on the rail early. Once he sets him down, it's victory in sight and track record equaling time. It is sweet. Back at Woodbine in Toronto as we get ready for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Featuring Serena Song, as tough as they come, out of the money only once this year, but riding a 5-race losing streak now. This will be her 3rd Breeders' Cup race, 2nd to Flanders, beaten just barely by her stablemate in the '94 Juvenile Fillies, beaten ahead. And then last year in the Distaff, faded to 5th as Inside Information romped to victory. And the morning line odds here for the Distaff. Jewel Princess at 3-1, different the 9-5 morning line favorite. Serena Song at 2-1, My Flag at 9-2. The shortest field of the day, but maybe the most competitive. In fact, the Distaff, I often think, is the best race on Breeders' Cup Day. So the morning line favorite is different. She's another Ron McAnally Argentine import, unbeaten in her 4 U.S. starts. Sid Craig had to put up $200,000 to make her eligible to run here as a supplemental nominee. That's 20% of the purse. In fact, supplementing a horse very much in Breeders' Cup news this year with Skip Away. And I guess we should explain to you what we mean when we talk about supplementing a horse to the Breeders' Cup. In order to be eligible to run in the Breeders' Cup, you have to be made eligible in 2 different ways. And of course, most of these horses are. The first way would be that your stallion has to be nominated. You do that by making a payment, a one-time payment, equal to the advertised stud fee for 1 season of the stallion. And then each foal has to have a one-time $500 payment to be made in order to be eligible for the Breeders' Cup. If neither of those conditions have been met, then you can't run. You have to be supplemented to run in the Breeders' Cup races. Gambling is one of the essential aspects of a day at the races. But at the Breeders' Cup, sometimes the owners play the highest stakes, putting up as much as 20% of a race's purse to supplement their horse.
Skip Away, top customer today. Jerry Bailey, fully extended cigar. Skip Away went for it all. Here comes Cigar. Cigar wanders to the outside. Skip Away, here's the finish, and it is. I believe Skip Away got it. I believe Skip Away has defeated Cigar today.
That result raised the prospect of a rematch at Woodbine, but a $480,000 supplemental payment for the unnominated Skip Away dampened hopes. Then trainer Sonny Hines' illness kept Skip Away home. He and his wife Carolyn, who owned the horse, expressed mixed feelings.
Would have been $160,000 for the $4 million. 4 times what the other people paid. They paid $40,000. I can understand that. But then they only pay another $40,000. I got to pay 8 times that, $320,000 a run.
As far as the supplement, that would have made a big dent in my checkbook. I mean, Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, Bloomingdale's, they would have suffered a little bit. But I felt my horse deserved to go. And I strongly wanted to go.
Owner Sid Craig had to put up $200,000 to enter Passiana in the '92 Breeders' Cup Distaff. The win paid $520,000, but Craig remained skeptical about the nature of the supplement.
Passiana, at the time, I just thought it was the thing to do. I didn't even think twice about Passiana. I really felt she could win it, and I wanted to win the race. Now that I know more about it, I realize it isn't from a betting point of view that good a bet, but from the overall thing, you're wrapped up in the horse racing, and it's part of the game.
This year's Breeders' Cup features 2 supplements, the Argentinian horses Criolito and Different. Their trainers offer their perspectives on the supplemental stakes.
I don't think it is a good bet. No, because you're shooting at like 600,000, you're putting up 2, and if you're out of the money, then you're out. And even if you run second, you're still costing you money.
The supplement, 200,000 supplement is a lot of money for a horse that can't run. But we can run. That's it. That's why we paid it.
Well, we had all hoped to see the rematch between Skipaway and Cigar, perhaps battling for Horse of the Year. I think that Sonny Heim was really leaning toward making that $480,000 payment when he got sick. He had kidney stones, had to go to the hospital. Skipaway missed a crucial work, and as Heim stayed in the hospital, the possible trip to the Breeders' Cup was canceled, so that rematch won't take place between the likely 3-year-old champion Skipaway and Cigar in the Classic. John, what about, is it a fair system? We heard what the trainers said there. Most of them think it's too much. What do you think of the supplemental?
To be honest with you, I think it is a fair system. I think it does discourage people from making frivolous entries into the Breeders' Cup. Certainly $480,000 is a lot of money, but Skipaway, to be in a position to be able to make that amount of money in the year that he's run this year, over $2 million, certainly had the money in his pocket to do it. I think with Sonny Hines, the problem was not the money. It was that he had been ill. He'd been away from his horse for a couple of days, and certainly he had lost a little bit of contact. And when a horse trainer does that, they get a little bit of queasy feeling in their stomach. But as we see today with Different in the upcoming race, $200,000. If you take a look and see, as you said before, 4 times in this country, 4 victories, that's a pretty good investment.
Well, Different is the favorite for the Distaff, and Ron McAnally's been down this road before. Right now he's with Bob Newmeyer.
Tom, we might call Ron McAnally the king of the supplements. He's done it 3 times in the past, and he's won 3 times. And does that mean you're a good gambler or a good persuader of some of your owners to put up 200 large to run in a race like this?
Well, probably a good persuader, I think, Bob. It's but they're gracious enough. You know, I have the right clients that'll do it. You know, they want to win, and they wanted to win an Eclipse Award, and I think that's mainly the reason why they do it. Should the filly win today, of course, I think she'd have a good chance of getting the older filly and mare award.
This is kind of like rolling the dice in a bit. This owner particularly is Mr. Craig. You've had horses with him before. I guess the upside of a win in a Breeders' Cup race for future breeding dollars and cents makes the $200,000 gamble worthwhile?
Well, according to Mr. Craig, it isn't worthwhile.
But you talked him into it.
Yeah, well, I really didn't talk him into it. I said, this is how we stand. If you want to go for it, it's entirely up to you. It's your money. But he's been good, you know, and as well as the Whittams. They did it twice, and that's Sid's 3rd time.
We're talking about Baiacoa and Passiano, who had won this before. You've been kind of the king of this race in the past. Is Different any different, per se, than Baiacoa and Passiano?
Well, only time is going to tell, Bob, but she certainly has done everything we've asked of her, as you know, and hopefully today she can do it.
Good gambler and a good persuader, Ron McAnally, the king of the supplements. Tom?
Bob, and supplemental entries have had mixed results here at the Breeders' Cup. 6 of 40 have won. 6 times in 40 races, the supplemental entries have won. And as we look at the odds, we remind you again, you saw there for a moment to log on the MSNBC site on the web and make your picks along with us. Here are the current odds. Different has gone down now to 6-5. So a strong favorite to take home the money for the supplemental nominee. Different 6-5. Jewel Princess is 2-1. Second choice, Serena's Song, one of the fan favorites, at 3-1. And last year's Juvenile Fillies winner and champion 3-year-old filly My Flag is 7-1, or last year's 2-year-old champion. There's the site, www.msnbc.com. log on the net and on interactive Breeders' Cup action. You can show who you like in each of the 7 Breeders' Cup races today, and we'll bring you up to date on how the picks are going as we progress through the afternoon. The Distaff's coming up. We'll be back to Woodbine after these words from your local station. The 13th running of the Breeders' Cup Racing's Championship Day. It's the first time this day of races takes place outside the United States. Toronto's Woodbine Racetrack is the site as it celebrates its 40th anniversary this year. Woodbine opened in June 1956 by founder E.P. Taylor. The weather was perfect for Nick Zito, who inaugurated the day with Storm Song, music in the ears of Craig Perrette. In the sprint, Corey Nakatani won one for his sister. Serena Song is a Breeders' Cup veteran. Will she win the Distaff? Or will the result be different? Later today, Cigar is looking to do what no horse has ever done. Back-to-back wins in the Classic. With jockey Jerry Bailey up, Cigar's victory at last year's Breeders' Cup solidified his Horse of the Year honors. But 2 recent losses in the past 3 months leave Cigar vulnerable. And now the horses are on the track for the Breeders' Cup Distaff, $1 million fillies and mares 3 and up at 1 1/8 and sponsored by Alberto VO5. One is Jewel Princess, trained by California-based Wally DeLassy, father-in-law of jockey Corey Nakatani, who won the sprint. Jewel Princess has had plenty of time to get used to the track here. She's been here a while. In her first start after a 2-month layoff, she was a good second in the Ladies' Secret at Santa Anita. 2 is different, just like Bayacoa and Passiana, but different. All the omens in place. Argentine bred, trained by Ron McAnally, a supplemental nominee, and she raced in Keeneland Spinster, as 7 winners before her have done here at the Breeders' Cup. Mysteriously, the 3-horse was scratched. 4 is Serena Song. Like all the Lucas horses, only arrived here Thursday. Never runs a bad race, but has lost 5 in a row. Victory today would make her the top money-winning filly or mare of all time, passing Canadian-bred Dance Smartly, who won the '91 Distaff and earned $3.26 million. 5 horses, My Flag. Last year's Juvenile Filly winner, 2-year-old filly champion for Phipps and McGahee. Her 4 wins this year include 3 Grade 1 events, the Ashland, the Coaching Club American Oaks, and the Gazelle. But she was 4th in her last race, the Beldame. She's a closer. She needs a fast pace to run at to get the money. 6-horse Top Secret, the last 2 horses trained by Rusty Arnold. This one is Speedster. She'll be dueling Serena Song for the lead. She set the early fractions in the Spinster before being caught by Different. And 7 is the other Arnold trainee, Clear Mandate, who has the opposite running style of the other Arnold horse. She is a closer, owned by Pamela Furman and her nephew Watts Humphrey, grandson of George Humphrey Eisenhower's Secretary of the Treasury. Jewel Princess at 2-1. Different continues as the 6-5 favorite. Serena Song now down to 5-2, but still the 3rd choice. My Flag the 4th choice at 7-1. Top Secret 21, and Clear Mandate the long shot in the field at 33-1. And let's go back upstairs to Tom Durkin.
Horse players are always looking for that little edge, and that can be a bit of a bias in the racetrack. Well, we don't know if there's a speed bias today. Certainly not after a horse came from 14th to win the last race, but it sure looks like to me that the jockeys are trying to get down on the rail. All of the winners on the card today have spent most of their trip down on the inside. Storm Song came a little bit out on the outside, but she was on the rail most of the way, and Corey Nakatani was riding the rails all the way with Lita Justice. They want to get down inside. It appears that way early on in the day.
All right, Tom, good to see that Tom has gotten comfortable there calling the races, and our handicappers are ready to give us the inside scoop on the Distaff, guys.
Unlike the sprint, where the long shots often come in, the Distaff has been quite the opposite. In fact, favorites have won 9 of 12 time, paying 3-2 odds or $5 or less. So I bet that Mr. Chalk player yourself, you'll go for a favorite here today.
You know what? I like the favorite. I like a couple of favorites in here. But, you know, Serena Song, Lucas refers to her as Her Highness, and deservedly so. I was just talking to Bob Lewis in the paddock. He said this is her 21st Grade 1 race. There we see Serena Song. Here we see Serena Song getting passed by Yanks Music in the Beldame. She has lost 5 races in a row, but look at her record this year. She started 13 times, 5 wins, 5 seconds, 2/3. 8 different tracks, 9 Grade 1 races. She's faced males 3 times, and she's carried 123 pounds or more 9 times. This is the one to beat. Different, the winner of the Spinster. She's very impressive. She's only lost 1 time, never in the U.S. So I think that these 2 fillies, both very solid. I'm giving Serena Song the slight edge over Different. That's the cold exacta, Bob.
Very logical, I think, in this case, Mike. But I remember a horse named One Dreamer that won wire to wire in this race, this Distaff a couple of years ago, going on the front end. And Top Secret is my pick in this particular race. Hopefully the same scenario will develop. This is a 3-year-old filly that loves the front end. She's second here to Different at Keeneland in the Spinster, but not a bad effort, beaten only a length and a half. And so Top Secret is my selection here. How about a long shot or 2 for the fans?
Not gonna happen in this race. I don't think so. I'd be really shocked if one of the favorites doesn't win
You
this
have that
race.
little respect for my selection.
I'm sorry,
and
Bob.
my also long shots.
Sorry,
so
Bob.
let's go for a sleeper from yours truly. And how about Clear Mandate? He is a very high price on the board at about 35 to 1. So Mike says no sleeper. You can go to the bank in the exacta. I say this could be the race with a short field that a favorite, I should say a long shot, could sneak in. Tom?
Yeah, guys, I like the favorite Different. I think that she's going to be unbeaten still in the U.S. 5 for 5. That Spinster is the key race. She won that. Maybe she'll win the Distaff. We'll be back.
The Breeders' Cup Distaff is sponsored by Alberto VO5 for great hair. VO5 does so much.
Serena Song has won 5 of 6 in a 2-turn mile and an 1/8 race. She's over her last 5, though, and making her 3rd Breeders' Cup appearance. Maybe the 3rd time is in the charm. She is the 3rd choice in the betting at the moment. Well, the mile and an 1/8 races begin up the stretch here at Woodbine, past the finish line, then a complete circuit of the track. Like most races here, even at a mile and an 1/8, most of the winners are not far from the early lead. That is the case normally, but here today we have seen the 2 winners come from way back to win the 2 Breeders' Cup races so far. Jewel Princess, 2 to 1. Different is 6 to 5, and still the favorite. Most of the favorites in this Distaff have gone off at low odds. Serena Song at 5 to 2. My Flag at 7, and the Arnold horses are long shots. Greg McCarron, these are experienced fillies and mares. Everything going smoothly?
Yeah, they sure are, Tom. My Flag stayed in the saddle enclosure while everybody was getting the leg up outside under the trees, but she's acting real good. And I do want to tell you that I talked to Chris about Different last night. He said she's got a heart as big as a grandstand. She won on all kinds of surfaces, and she'll go anywhere he points her. Back to you, Tom.
All right, we're about to find out how big her heart is in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Tom Durkin with the call.
Top Secret expected to go to the front here. A long shot, hoping to pull off an upset like One Dreamer did on the lead a couple years ago. And they're off. Serena Song comes out first today. Top Secret to her outside early. Different is up close. Jewel Princess secures a spot down inside. At the back of the pack in the early going will be Clear Mandate, and My Flag, as is her usual custom, just came strolling out of the gate. They're moving into the first turn, and Top Secret has made the lead and made it rather easily. She's clear by 2.5 lengths from Serena's Song, who settles into a precise gallop, running along in second. And then Different is sitting back comfortably in 3rd position, about 4 lengths from the lead. The opening quarter was a tepid one here, 24 seconds flat. Top Secret nursed along on an unchallenged lead. Serena's Song still sitting back in second. 2.5 lengths back to Different, being coaxed along now, running in 3rd position. Clear Mandate beginning to pick it up. Jewel Princess is conserved 5.5 lengths from Top Secret. By the back stretch running My Flag continues to trail the field. The pace is a dawdling one, 48 and 2, half mile, and Top Secret is trying to steal this one. Serena Song, though, has her measured, running in second right there, just off her heels. And Jewel Princess coming through an opening on the inside. Different is called on for her run now, and the cadence quickening with 3 furlongs to go, but they still have to get to Top Secret, the leader. Serena's Song glued to her flank second. Different put to a drive on the outside third. Just in behind them, it's Jewel Princess fourth. Serena's Song is collared Top Secret, and Serena's Song has taken the lead. But Different is coming to the attack on the outside, and Jewel Princess is splitting horses with a decisive drop. 3 fillies into the final furlong together. Jewel Princess down inside, comes on through, and she takes the lead from Serena's Song. Different will be third. Jewel Princess has won it beneath Corey Nakatani. A big day for Corey Nakatani. He has won the Distaff with Jewel Princess and a rail skimming ride.
Wow, Corey Nakatani, back-to-back Breeders' Cup victories. He entered today having never won at Breeders' Cup Championship Day, and he wins the sprint. And now the Distaff on Jewel Princess with another beautifully timed ride. And he wins this one for his father-in-law, trainer Wally DeLassy. Jewel Princess here in the Distaff. Corey coming between horses there, splitting Serena's Song and the early pace-setting Top Secret. Serena's Song takes a brief lead here, with Different on the outside now trying to challenge those two. But down on the inside, Jewel Princess puts the head in front and never relinquishes the lead as Nakatani lets her feel the sting of the whip with the right hand. Serena's Song can't catch her, and Different hangs on her move as well. Back-to-back Nakatani Breeders' Cup wins, and Greg McCarron is alongside.
Corey, way to go. The story continues. I tell you, I got an angel on my side. Don's the name, and I tell you, this one's for everybody. My nephew, Christopher, my grandfather. Can't thank my mom and dad much more, and this is for them.
It couldn't be any better, Corey. And it looked like she'd come up the rail for you.
She pretty much put herself in the race early, and I knew the main thing was just to have an opportunity to let her run, and she's a champion. She beat Serena's Song. Every time they met, she beat the best of them, so she deserves it, Mama.
Well, that's sure saying a lot. Thanks, Corey. Back to you, Tom.
All right, thanks, Greg. And owned by a large syndicate, this horse, Jewel Princess, a Florida bred by the Farnsworth Farms. She's a filly by Key to the Man, a 4-year-old from Jewel Ridge by Molino. We'll have a big gathering in the winner's circle for the victory by Jewel Princess, with Serena's Song second and Different finishing third. It's Nakatani once again with that angel on his shoulder. Distaff winners, Jewel Princess and jockey Corey Nakatani. Jewel Princess had a little vacation from July 21st to October 6th. Came back with a good second in the Ladies' Secret Breeders' Cup Handicap at Santa Anita, and obviously was primed for the run for the money here in the Distaff. Here are the payoffs in Canadian dollars here at Woodbine in the Distaff, as Jewel Princess paid $680, $350, and $270. Serena's Song, by the way, gets $200,000 for finishing second. She is just a few $1,000s short of the all-time filly mare career earnings held by the Canadian-bred Dance Smartly. Different finishes third, paying $210 to show. Corey Nakatani once again. Trevor, another very, very beautiful ride.
Oh, no doubt about it. The day belongs to Corey Nakatani, but what a big day for trainer Wally DeLassy, too. Has been knocking on the door in so many million-dollar races. Twice here in the Breeders' Cup Day. He's come so close. He nearly won the Arlington Million, but the big ones always eluded him. And Wally DeLassy finally gets his just rewards this afternoon. Great training job by Wally DeLassy with Jewel Princess, perhaps one of the most underrated trainers there are in the United States. Let's take a look at it right now. Here's Serena's Song on the lead. On the extreme outside, we have Different in the white colors. Down at the rail was the pace setter Top Secret, but she's not going to go on. And here's Corey Nakatani. Now, he has a number of options here. He could either try to go around the whole field. He could try to wait for room and taking a little bit of chance here to go between the horse at the rail and the one alongside. But Corey Nakatani knows what he's doing. He finds a perfect hole here as Serena's Song in the yellow sleeves drifts out just a fraction, and Corey Nakatani shakes the reins at her now. And just look at those ears going back and forth from Jewel Princess. She's so full of run out there. Don't take anything away from Serena's Song. She's a little tiger, but no one was going to beat Jewel Princess today. Just a couple of little backhanders. Horse can hardly even feel those. They're just encouragement, not hurting her at all. And Jewel Princess, the best horse on the afternoon, over a tremendously game Serena's Song, and the favorite Different, every possible chance that had to settle for third today. take a look back again at Corey Nakatani in that winner's circle right now, and back-to-back wins in Breeders' Cup races. This guy just has to be the happiest horse racing person in the world right now, and who knows, it's far from over. He could go to 3, he could go to 4 as the afternoon progresses. Huge day for Corey Nakatani and Wally Dalasi. Corey Nakatani heading back towards the jockey's room right now, and there she is, Jewel Princess, the daughter of Key to the Mint. Tom, let's take it back now to take a look at that full order of finish.
All right, Trevor, as West Coast-based horses, in fact, Southern California-based horses have taken 2 of the first 3 races here. Lady Justice in the sprint, and now Jewel Princess, Serena's Song, Different, My Flag, never fired today. The early pace setter, Top Secret. She got away with some slow early fractions, couldn't last, and Clear Mandate as the complete order of finish finds Jewel Princess winning the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Let's go to Mike Battaglia for the presentation.
Thanks, Tom. And with me, Prince Ahmed Salman, the winning owner, Richard Stevens, to make the presentation from the Alberto Culver Company, Miss Cheryl O'Leary.
On behalf of the worldwide family of Alberto VO5 and the St. Ives Swiss Formula products, we congratulate Jewel Princess on a gallant win in this year's Distaff. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And gentlemen, a gallant win it was. When you run by a horse like Serena's Song, you've been able to do that 3 times this year. That's a fantastic effort by this filly.
Jockey had a great trip coming around the turn. Curry knew just what to do, and it was a great run. Serena's Song is a real tough horse. Jewel Princess has really showed her colors today.
And, sir, I know that this has to be a great thrill for you to win the Breeders' Cup race like this. It's got to be just fantastic.
Well, it's the first time for Saudi to win the Breeders' Cup. So this goes to Saudi Arabia.
And congratulations to trainer Wally Dalasi. If we could get Wally up here, done just an excellent job with this filly this year. I've already mentioned she's beaten Serena's Song 3 times this year. How could you ask anything more of this filly?
Well, it was exceptional. She's exceptional, and the ride was exceptional. He did exactly what I had in mind. And she's a special filly. When you get lucky enough to train one like this, they do marvelous things.
And you mentioned the ride of Corey Nakatani. He's on a hot streak right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this kid is unbelievable, and that's my son-in-law. I'm so proud of him. I was just as excited in the last race as I was in this race.
Great. Congratulations. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Mike. Corey Nakatani is the object of attention. You can barely see him down there around all the cameras and the reporters and the well-wishers. It is his day, at least so far. Corey Nakatani wins in the sprint and in the distaff. Lady Justice and now Jewel Princess.
You got to thank all the horsemen, the trainers, the owners, and especially the racetrack.
Well, John Veach, sometimes a jockey like a hitter in baseball just gets in a groove, and it's apparent that Corey Nakatani is there.
Right. He's had 2 excellent trips and actually 2 very difficult rides. The key was, in both instances, the horse responded. He had the horse to get through there, but he was in position, and a lot of times that is the key. But he had 2 of the things, position and horse.
Well, as we said, Corey Nakatani has had some adversity, but so far this is the best day of his riding career. Coming up, we'll go to that grass course we've been talking about a lot. We'll go to the Breeders' Cup Mile coming up next. That's a mile on the grass. Here is the morning line with the Charnwood Forest Mark of Esteem entry as the 8-5 favorite. Mark of Esteem, really highly regarded in Europe and coming and trying to win for the 7th time a European horse at the Breeders' Cup Mile. Memories of Silver is at 8-1. DeHaas, one of the chief U.S. threats, is at 5-1. Spinning World is at 6-1. And all the others are double-digit odds on the morning line. Corey Nakatani rules the day in Toronto so far. Now let's go to New York for our Prudential Update studio and join Ahmad Rashad. Woodbine Racetrack, the Ontario Jockey Club, where Cigar prepares to defend his Breeders' Cup Classic title. Cigar's streak included 16 straight wins. In 1995, he was voted Horse of the Year. And in the same season, his jockey, Jerry Bailey, was inducted into the Hall of Fame. But just 3 weeks ago, Cigar was beaten by 3-year-old Skipaway.
Skipaway might pull it off. Here comes Cigar. Cigar wanders to the outside. Skipaway, here's the finish, and it is. I believe Skipaway got it. I believe Skipaway has defeated Cigar today.
I would have liked nothing more in the world than to finish out Cigar's career undefeated. Believe me, as many things as I have accomplished and the good things that have happened, the 2 defeats on Cigar will probably, just knowing the person I am, that'll probably stick out in my mind more than a lot of things I've done in my career.
A second defeat, and occurring at Jockey and Horse's home track, was a blow to Team Cigar. Jerry Bailey has the opportunity today to win his 5th Breeders' Cup Classic. But what really is on his mind is a repeat victory for Cigar in America's richest race, and a chance for horse and rider to once again rewrite racing history. The MetLife blimp Snoopy 1 has teamed up with NBC Sports to provide you with this bird's eye view of Woodbine Racecourse in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The blimp equipped with a state-of-the-art camera that provides a unique perspective of the action some 1,200 feet below. Coming up next, the Breeders' Cup Mile. And we'll check the odds for the mile. The entry at 2-1. Helmsman at 14, Kiradashi at 8-1. Kiradashi, oddly enough, owns a track record here at Woodbine on the dirt. Memories of Silver at 7-1. Chaposa Springs at 14. DeHaas is 6, and Spinning World is 7-1. Well, in the aftermath of the win by Jewel Princess in the Distaff, apparently Wayne Lucas not pleased with the ride he got from Gary Stevens on Serena's Song. Mike, you were down there when an exchange took place, huh?
Right, Tom, and Gary Stevens laid back off of that quite slow pace. I tried to talk to Gary after the race. Wayne grabbed Gary and kind of ushered him out of there and was kind of chastising him for the race. Gary said, you know, Wayne, I really didn't think I rode that poor of a race. And Wayne was just upset, I think, for the fact that the pace was so slow and Gary with Serena's Song was not on the front end. And she ran a great race, I thought. She finished 2nd. We'll try to get a report from Wayne Lucas. He doesn't have a horse in the mile here, but we'll talk to Wayne, see why he really thought that, and maybe talk to Gary too. But Wayne was very upset when he pulled Gary Stevens away. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Mike. Wayne obviously not in the best of moods. He's 0 for 6 to begin the Breeders' Cup today. And what did you think of the ride Gary Stevens on Serena's Song?
Well,
really slow early fraction.
Sure, Tom. Most people don't realize that even though the race was at 1 1/8, sometimes that 1 1/8 is determined in the first quarter or half mile. Now, 24 for the first quarter is very slow for this quality of horse. 48 and 3 is really slow. So what it did is it gave Serena's Song a lot to make up. And then when she went to the lead, she used a lot of what she had left and should have had left for the end of the race right there. So certainly she did not and was not positioned as well as she has been in the past.
So that's 6 losses in a row for Serena's Song, but the string continues. She never runs a bad race, and getting 2nd in the Distaff makes her just a few thousand short of the mark of all-time leading money-winning filly or mare. Well, we're talking about the Breeders' Cup Mile coming up next now, and the mile is where the European horses always do well because in Europe they race primarily on turf. Occasionally they race on dirt, but mostly on turf over there, so the mile is one of the races they shoot for. But before they can race at the Breeders' Cup, they have to be pronounced disease-free. The highly restricted quarantine barn. The name alone conjures up images of stark isolation. But at Woodbine, the newly built facility is an equine castle among the stables on the backstretch. While their blood is tested for infectious disease, foreign horses are kept away from the other horses at the track. That takes 48 hours, during which time they train only after the North American horses have finished. This year, Europe will unleash 10 of the world's best grass runners over a course that mirrors those on their home continent. Its unusual shape, long straightaways and irregular turns, combined with a cooler Canadian climate and an easy trip over, should leave the Europeans with no built-in excuses. There's a look at that brand new quarantine barn here at Woodbine. State-of-the-art facilities. Nobody complaining about that. And the rules a little more liberal in Canada than they are in the U.S. And no one from Europe complaining about the treatment they've gotten here. It has been the easiest trip in total so far for the European horses. And there's a look at that turf course. Now, they'll only be going around one turn, the turn for home in this mile run. They'll go around both turns in the 1.5 mile turf coming up later. But of course, Greg McCarron has an advantage on us. He can get on his pony and get out there on that turf course. Greg, I'm told there are 22 acres of grass on the turf course. Give us a report on how it feels under your horse's hooves.
Tom, I was lucky. I had a chance to gallop over the grass course, and it is really unique compared to the ones we have back home. Unlike our oval courses, this one is very oddly shaped. It's got a big, wide, sweeping final turn and a stretch run that's more than 1/4 mile. But the thing I found most unique was that from about the 5/8 pole to the head of the stretch, the horses actually run slightly downhill, and then they level off for the run to the wire. With that big, wide, sweeping turn, the downhill run, and that long stretch, these riders are going to have to be awfully patient. The condition of the grass, actually, with all the rain that we've had in the past week, this course is in real good shape. Unlike our courses at home when we have a lot of rain, the divots are usually huge. This actually looks as though it's just packed down. It's in great shape. I hope to later on be able to give you a report on just how that first turn is. Tom?
All right, Greg, and it is a unique grass course, that little downhill run. Jockeys have to be careful. Sometimes because they're going downhill, they do think they have more horse than they actually do, and they end up floundering in that long stretch. I'm told that sometimes they'll switch leads repeatedly coming through the stretch because they just are tiring and floundering in that long stretch run after coming off the downhill turn. Let's go down to Bob Newmeyer now.
Coming up the mile, and a chance to look at the darling of Europe. His name is jockey Lanfranco Dettori. His father was a champion jockey in Italy. His mother was a trapeze artist. So bloodline suggests this is a man who likes to go fast and fly high. In September at Ascot in England, Dettori did the unthinkable. He won all 7 races at Ascot that day, electrifying the European racing world. He likes fast cars. He likes pizzazz. And Frankie Dettori, with that ejector seat leap from the saddle a la Angel Cordero, knew he had a streak going. Among the horses he rode that day to victory, Mark of Esteem, who he'll ride today in the mile. And of course, Wall Street will say later on in the turf. Dettori at this point had 6 winners. Even he could not believe he had a chance for 7 in a row. But Frankie Dettori pulled it off at odds estimated at 25,095 to 1. Once again, the Cordero-like ejector seat dismount. And everyone was thrilled, Dettori, the trainers, the fans, except for one group of the English racing community, the bookmakers. They took it on the chin, big time. Reports of $41 million in losses. Everybody bet Frankie. They parlayed Frankie. And as he was giving the fans a champagne bath, it was the bookmakers that took the big bath. Tom?
All right, Bob. And the Dettori story. And of course, up in New York, they're hoping the Tory story will play out later tonight when the Yankees swing into action. You saw 1A Mark of Esteem, who was getting some special treatment here with the post parade coming up. And of course, as we said, the mile is one of the targets always for the European horses. They've won it 6 times in the first 12 1/8 runnings. There have been 6 European-based winners, including Ridgewood Pearl last year. But there also have been some European flops in the Breeders' Cup Mile. Look at the favorites, including Arazi, who it was announced today will be moving from England to stand at stud at Three Chimneys Farm in Kentucky. Sheikh Mohammed moving him to Kentucky. Here is Mark of Esteem. He is the 1A, ridden by Frankie Dettori. Mark of Esteem was one of those record horses in that 7-race sweep of the Ascot card in September. Earlier, he won the Classic English 2000 Guineas, taking his last 2 races, most impressively, the Queen Elizabeth Stakes at Ascot. Helmsman is the 2. And again, we see Nakatani riding for his father-in-law, Delassie. He's the 13th Corey Nakatani to win 2 Breeders' Cup races. No jockey has ever won 3. Helmsman has won his only mile race on the grass, but hasn't raced since the last day of June. 3 Kiradashi was bred by the late Aubrey Minshall, now owned and trained by his widow Barbara. Woodbine based, he's 2 for 3 on the Woodbine turf. Went wire to wire in the mile Heresy here, romping home by 6. 4 horses, Volashine, Irish bred, has raced in France, Dubai, Hong Kong, Canada, and the U.S., where he's been based since August. Winner of Saratoga's Bernard Baruch handicap. 5 horses, Memories of Silver, who doesn't need a long memory to think of the winner's circle. She's been there her last 4 races. and that's all since moving to the grass course, but an ambitious task here for a 3-year-old filly. 6-horse Chiposa Springs, another lady taking on the boys. She's a 4-year-old Florida bred and based filly. She's won 6 in a row, but never beyond 7 furlongs, and she did win her only start on grass, only the second time on the lawn today. 7 De Haas was the last place finisher in last year's sprint, but in his 4 races this year he's been exclusively on the grass and winning 2. Then with Gary Stevens up for the first time, beaten only ahead in Belmont's Kelso handicap. Lightly raced this year due to a foot problem, and now patched with fiberglass and ready to go. 1 horse came out of order in the post parade, and that's half of the entry, the Sheikh Mohammed's Godolphin entry. Charnwood Forest, trained by 29-year-old Saeed bin Suror, the former policeman who took over the Godolphin horses in England and in Dubai. Urgent Request is the 8. Charlie Whittingham, one of the great trainers in American history, now 83, had cataract surgery earlier this week. This horse won the Oak Tree Mile in 1:32 and 2, just 2/5 off the world record, but he's been plagued by inconsistency. 9 horses Spinning World. Texan Cash Asmussen sent the racing world spinning when he left the U.S. for France back in '82. He's the only foreigner to ever lead the French jockey standings, but the problem is he's 0 for 21 at the Breeders' Cup. Spinning World is one of Europe's, though, most accomplished milers. 10-horse Same Old Wish fulfilled the wishes of Paul Gabatry, a native of Guyana, and the 7 friends who make up Friendship Stable when he won the Kelso at nearly 35 to 1. Tiny horse, but with a big heart. Smooth Runner is the 11, owned by 88-year-old New Yorker Herbert Allen. Chris McCarron looks for his 7th Breeders' Cup win, but faces a tough assignment on this lightly raced 5-year-old. 2 horses in the mutual field, one of them 12 is Mighty Forum, 9th in this race last year and 0 for 6 during the 1996 racing season. The other horse in the field is the 13, that's Dumani, ridden by Julie Crone, who won the Keeneland Breeders' Cup Mile on the grass. Dumani did in his last start before the Breeders' Cup. So that's the field for the Breeders' Cup Mile. Charnwood Forest and Mark of Esteem, the entry. Mark of Esteem, the favorite half of that, I would guess. 2 to 1 favorites. Kiradashi at 8 to 1. Memories of Silver and Chiposa Springs, the fillies. De Haas is 6 to 1, and Spinning World is 7 to 1. You can get double digits on the rest of them, including the field horses, which are 33 to 1. Well, again, mixed success for our handicappers. Mike picked a winner in the first race, and I guess we had one to watch, time or two. And let's go back to Mike and Bob.
Well, Mike's done it all. In fact, I'm so cold. You better put on a sweater. You could catch pneumonia standing next to me. I'm so cold as a result of the 3 races. But now we have our first challenge that involves European competition, the mile run. Who do you like?
Well, you have to respect Mark of Esteem. This horse has done great things over in England, and I think he's the one to beat. But I'm going to buck tradition in this race. In the 12 runnings, only 1 horse has gone wire to wire, and that was the great Lure. I'm looking for Kiradashi to do that again this afternoon. Here he is winning the Heresy Stakes over this turf course. There's a lot of things to like about this horse. He's run here at Woodbine 3 times, 2 wins and a 3rd. I believe that was his best race ever. He's coming in great shape. He's going to be in front. Look for him to score the upset. Kiradashi, a wire-to-wire winner here in the mile.
Not me, baby. I'm on the Frankie Dettori bandwagon all the way. I like this guy. I like his horse, Mark of Esteem. I like horses that are traditional milers, that are successful at Grade 1 competition, and he fits the bill perfectly. He's won 3 out of 4 races this year in Europe against the highest class of competition. I think Mark of Esteem, coupled with Charnwood Forest, he's 4 out of 6 lifetime. Very, very good. Won the Queen Elizabeth, and he's the winner. As far as the sleepers are concerned, who do you like?
Well, you know, I like the filly. Memories of Silver, she's run so well since they switched her to the grass. She's 4 for 4. She shattered the track record, the course record at Keeneland last time out, and she beat a very good European 3-year-old filly, Shake the Yoke. So I think she has an excellent shot in here. Memories of Silver.
And I'm going to go with Helmsman. He comes in off a layoff, but he's run some dangerous races to Fastness. And Fastness is hurt and not here today. He'd be one of the favorites, but what would a Breeders' Cup telecast at NBC beat without His Royal Highness himself?
Much better off, I can tell you that.
Let me introduce you, first of all, before you launch into your analysis. John McGittrick from Channel 4 in London. here to analyze today's mile run.
It's no contest. Mark of Esteem is an outstanding horse. You know, the Britons down the ages have had 87 runners in the Breeders' Cup. We've won only 3, with a master of excuses. The journey over the shipping, the going is too fast or too firm. The sharp tracks, the American jockey's not too nice to our boys. The weather's too hot or too cold. Everything's perfect here at Woodbine. The track on the outside, this Mark of Esteem.
John, you've had big favourites go down the drain before in this race.
I know, but here, this is the tracks were wrong. I was never so keen on them, but this horse is the best horse in Europe. He will be waiting or swinging on the steel, coming in the straight with Frankie Dettori. Wait until the 8th or the 16th pole and watch him go. This got brilliant acceleration.
What will happen if he doesn't win?
If he doesn't win, I'm not going back home to Britain. I swear I will not return to my own country, but will Canadian immigration let me in?
Some of your fans are praying that happens today, John.
I've no fans. There's one great thing in Britain. We've got 2 political parties, the Tory and the Labour Party.
John,
we say the Tory.
Back to you, Tom.
The only Tory worth voting for.
You think that was a Halloween mask? I don't know. Mutton Chop strikes again. He likes Dettori and Mark of Esteem. Back at Woodbine, where there is a momentary snafu, the tote board has gone dark as we approach post time for the Breeders' Cup Mile. Last we checked, the entry of Charnwood Forest and Mark of Esteem, Sheikh Mohammed's Godolphin entry, was favored at about 2-1. Bets are still being taken, we're told, but just no display of the odds and the pools here at the Woodbine track. Of course, betting is going on all over North America and Europe on these Breeders' Cup races, including pick sevens, where you have a chance to pick all 7 winners of Breeders' Cup races. A tall order indeed this year for sure, but at locations throughout North America and Europe, bets being taken. But here at Woodbine, the odds are not being displayed. Well, a mile on the grass here at Woodbine is a one-turn affair, as we told you earlier. They begin with that long run down the backside, then the gentle downhill turn to the 440-foot stretch, the longest grass stretch in the U.S. Unlike the dirt track, the turf course favors closers and stalkers. Only a small percentage of mile winners go wire to wire here on the turf at Woodbine. So betting is still going on at the windows, as you can see. I'm not sure if the TV monitors inside are displaying the odds or not. Let's now they're showing the races, the horses on the track instead. So you bet your money and take your chances here. You don't know what the odds are as you make your bet. That's just from under the grandstand here at Woodbine. Horses are progressing on that turf course toward the starting gate for the mile. Greg McCarron, as always, is with them. Anything to report on these guys, Greg?
Yeah, Tom, as soon as the horses galloped off in the post parade, I watched Mark of Esteem, and Frankie Dettori had his hands full for about a quarter of a mile. But then the horse came back to him, and he's acting real nice right now. And just as an aside, I asked Frankie what he thought his chances were, as understated as he could be. I got a shot. Back to you, Tom.
Greg, tell us about what a jockey can do if you have a horse that's acting up a little bit, wanting to run off. Is there any kind of trick that you can do to soothe them here, to get their mind back on the issue at hand, the race coming up?
Yeah, there's a couple different things, Tom, especially if, like Mark of Esteem, you're without a pony. Probably one of the things is just what he did, let him go for about a quarter of a mile. Once they get that little burst out of them, they generally settle down for you. Or you may just quickly rear right back on him and try to slow him down before he does get away from you. Talking to him mostly, maybe even singing to him sometimes helps.
There's Tom? A look at Mark of Esteem and Lanfranco Dettori, Frankie Dettori, who is an Italian native who took his tack to England and has been sensational, including that 7-race sweep at Royal Ascot. John Beach, what makes a good turf horse?
Well, a good turf horse can feel his way, and he likes it. Probably it's his pedigree. But you'll see these European horses, when they come to the dip in the racetrack where it starts to run downhill, they'll come out of there boiling, where the American horses are not used to it, and they may stop and feel their way and not come off with the momentum that the Europeans will have.
So graphically, we can't give you the odds because they're not displayed here at the track, but the entry of Charnwood Forest and Mark of Esteem will go off as the favorite. Loading in for the Breeders' Cup Mile, let's go to Tom Durkin.
Final horses moving in. Charnwood Forest taking his spot on the starting gate, and on the far outside, Smooth Runner. In the gate, and they're off. Same Old Wish breaks alertly on the far outside. Urgent Request is flashing his speed. Chiposa Springs with her speed as well. And here comes Kiradashi. Kiradashi and Urgent Request will go head-to-head early. Chiposa Springs gathered back to run in third position. On the inside, Voloshin is now up to be fourth. Spinning World fifth on the outside. Memories of Silver nudged along, running in sixth position. And Mark of Esteem, the English miners, in between horses, now running in seventh. On the far outside, it's Dumani eighth. De Haas is moving up methodically on the inside. And then it's Helmsman. Helmsman now about 6 lengths from the front. Drafting in behind horses, Charnwood Forest. A break of 3 to Mighty Form, followed by Smooth Runner. And after breaking alertly, Same Old Wish is now trailing the field. The opening quarter went in 23 3/5 seconds. Kiradashi leads after a half in 47 1. Kiradashi, the Canadian, is the leader as they round the far turn. On the outside, Urgent Request is right there. De Haas sitting in just in behind the lead. He's running in third. Chiposa Springs is now fourth. Spinning World fifth on the outside. Mark of Esteem is still in behind horses as they make the turn into this towering stretch here at Woodbine. It's Kiradashi, and De Haas is coming to Kiradashi. Urgent Request has nothing left. Spinning World is right there. And on the far outside, Mark of Esteem has still got a lot to do. It's the American De Haas with a 2-length lead. Spinning World trying to reel him in as they come down to the finish. But the victory goes to De Haas in the mile. He won by a length and a half. Spinning World was second, and Same Old Wish came on to be third. Gary Stevens and an absolutely absolutely pathetic Englishman that has just lost to the American.
The worst sort of result for Mutton Chops. He'll have to stay in Canada. Did he say that? Oh, no. I predict he'll be deported tomorrow. De Haas, talk about from last to first. Last year, he was last in the sprint at Breeders' Cup Day. He comes back, he gets over a foot problem. He has raced exclusively on the grass this year. He goes a mile here on the turf, and he looks brilliant. For jockey Gary Stevens, a little bit of redemption for him after the harsh words of Lucas and the Distaff. Owned by the Prestonwood Farm, Wall Street Racing Stables, trained by Michael Dickinson, booted home by Gary Stevens. Here's De Haas coming to the finish line all by himself to take the Breeders' Cup Mile. De Haas, a 4-year-old gelding by Gone West out of Jolly Saint by Welsh Saint, bred in Kentucky by Fairs Farm Incorporated. So here are the unofficial results in the Breeders' Cup Mile. De Haas beats Spinning World, and Same Old Wish, that little horse with a big heart, gets up for third. Let's go to Greg McCarran.
Gary, congratulations. This grass sounds like it's pretty firm.
It's an unbelievable turf course. The drainage here is unbelievable. It's rained hard for 10 days. Come out here, we've got a firm course and just beautiful.
That's great, Gary. Congratulations. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Greg. Gary Stevens with De Haas winning the Breeders' Cup Mile on the turf at Woodbine. 4 races in the books. The latest winner is De Haas on Breeders' Cup Day. Gary Stevens untacking the Breeders' Cup Mile winner De Haas, the 4th Breeders' Cup victory for Gary Stevens. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
Thanks, Tom. And with Frankie Dettori, and a lot was thought of Mark of Esteem. He was part of your record-breaking day at Royal Ascot. And what happened? Did he have any excuse?
Well, the horse is a true champion. Let's forget today. I mean, in the back straight, the ground is very soft. And obviously, the horse wasn't relaxing for me on soft ground, and he used that much energy. You know, what I would expect it to say for the final effort. But like I said, it's disappointing to come here and not being placed. But I know the horse is a true champion. He's a pity then there's so much difference between the back stretch and the real stretch.
But we did not get to see the true Mark of Esteem today?
No, none at all. You probably didn't even see the shadow today.
All right, better luck. Thank you, Frankie. Back to you, Tom.
Well, interesting that Gary Stevens and Frankie Dettori had differing views on the turf course, whether it was hard or soft. Gary Stevens was high in his praise, and Frankie Dettori, as you might expect, on the beaten favorite Mark of Esteem, said his horse didn't like it quite as well. Let's go to Bob Newmeyer.
Well, Michael Dickinson, the trainer of DeHaas, has been recognized as one of the top grass conditioners in our country. And I heard Gary Stevens, you call him a genius when you came into the winner's circle here.
Well, he came in this morning. We had a long discussion. He'd walked the turf course, and he felt that he knew the best part of the turf course for me to be. And the problem for me was getting there. And the way things turned out, I was able to get to the fence. He had told me that was the best part of the racetrack. I put him on that going, and he was long gone. We just had a great trip all the way. Unbelievable.
And you had a clean effort there. Of course, saving ground so important in a mile race, and that was the key here. We can take you home.
Well, like you said, I got the save ground all the way, and we felt that we had a good 3/16 of a mile run with this horse, and I went ahead and swung him out as we turned into the stretch, and the rest was history. I just kept him to his task, and he was all business today. He missed a lot of training with this horse, and the job that he was able to do with him, getting him ready for today's race, is just unbelievable. He shouldn't have been as fit as what he was, and just a tribute to the job that Michael Dickinson did with this horse.
All right, speaking of trainers, we had a report about a half hour ago that you had a beef with Wayne Lucas after the Distaff, that he was not happy with your ride on Serena's Song. Is that true? What happened between you and Wayne?
Well, I wouldn't call it a beef at all, and I wouldn't call it him being upset with my ride. He felt that the fractions could have been a little bit faster. He thought that I maybe should have pressed on a little bit down the backside. We had a small discussion about it, and he saw me getting a little hot, and he said, Gary, I'm not being critical. Wayne and I go a long ways back, and if we can't have these conversations and discuss things, and we have no relationship at all. And he's like my father. I ride a lot of horses for him, and it was a father-son conversation, and nothing more than that.
So you left on speaking terms with Wayne?
Well, we better be on speaking terms. I got another ride for him, and I hope I go out and win the race for him. He was the first one to come back and congratulate me here in the winner's circle after this win. So if that means anything, I think we're all right.
I guess tempers have cooled off between Gary Stevens and Wayne Lucas. Tom?
That sounds like it, Bob. And interesting that Gary was talking about getting to the rail, getting to that one path. They can make 5 different turf courses actually here by moving the inner rail. Now for the last month or so, they've had it moved way out almost in the center of that turf course, conserving the inside for the Breeders' Cup Day today. So he found that path on the inside after trainer Michael Dickinson had walked the course, and it was very beneficial. And now for the trophy presentation in the Breeders' Cup Mile, let's go down to Mike Battaglia.
Thanks, Tom. And with the owner of Prestonwood Farm, Jack Preston, and to make the presentation, Mr. Jerry Warman, Director of Corporate Marketing for General Motors of Canada.
Thank you, Mike. On behalf of Buick and our over 3,300 dealers across Canada and the United States, I'm delighted to present you with this trophy for a fantastic victory in the Breeders' Cup Mile. Congratulations on just a fabulous race, Jack.
Thank you very much. And Jack, it was a fabulous race. This horse had a lot of trouble last time in the Kelso. Today, Gary Stevens did an excellent job. I saw no problems at all, and boy, he really responded.
Gary did a wonderful job of riding the horse. Michael did a great job of preparing him. And, of course, my brother Art and JR and I and our partners, Hollywood Stables, we're extremely pleased about this.
It just has to be a great thrill for you.
It is. It is.
And Michael, he already mentioned the great job that you did. What did you do coming off of the Kelso? As I said, the horse got into some problems. Come on in here. He got into some problems in the Kelso, but today, clear sailing.
Well, he was a little bit not quite 100% fit going into the Kelso, but I really want to pay tribute to Art, Jack and JR, because one of their top advisors wanted him to go for the Meadowlands Cup, which is a $750,000 million race. And I said, no, I don't want to go. I want to go for the Kelso, which is only a $100,000 race. And I said, I think we're going to go there and go to the Breeders' Cup. And, you know, their advisor is very smart, and he put up a very good argument for going to the Meadowlands Cup. And, you know, I just want to thank them for, you know, following my plan, and here we are.
Well, you made the right decision, as shown by the win in the Breeders' Cup. Back to you, Tom.
So DeHaas wins the Breeders' Cup Mile. Spinning World, Same Old Wish, Kiradashi, Mark of Esteem, the European favorite, finishing only 7th. We haven't gotten you the prices yet because the tote board is still down. I heard a cheer, and perhaps it's back up behind me. I don't know. John Veach says yes, it is. So the tote board is back up, and the official prices can be posted now. There you see the tote board back in action here at Woodbine. Betting was still going on, but the pools and the odds were not being displayed. So DeHaas is the winner of the Breeders' Cup Mile. Now listen up, Mike and Bob. The folks that are placing their wagers interactively on the World Wide Web had picked all but one winner. They missed. They took Serena's Song. She didn't win the Distaff, but they had picked 3 of the first 4, much better than our professional handicappers. If you'd like to join the fun, www.msnbc.com will get you on interactive Breeders' Cup on the World Wide Web. Well, coming up, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He showed the poise of an older horse, Ordway, charging late between horses to get the money in the Moet Champagne Stakes. He's the morning line favorite in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
He's going to win the Champagne. Ordway pulling away beneath John Velasquez, and he's pumped up. He beat.
There's the aerial view of Woodbine Racecourse, including that unique turf course outside the dirt. And the tote board, unfortunately, has gone out once again, so still no prices posted. It was up momentarily. It's gone back down. Jim Gray is with us here today, and he's gone to check on the problem. Meanwhile, we'll give you the morning line odds for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Boston Harbor, 5-2, carrying the hopes of Lucas, who's been shut out so far. Gold Tribute at 6-1, Ordway at 2-1. And Michelle's all hands scratched. You see the others are double digits, including George Steinbrenner's horse, Acceptable, at 12-1. Well, we've seen these beautiful pictures of Woodbine all day. It's celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. It was founded by E.P. Taylor 40 years ago to consolidate racing in the province of Ontario. E.P. Taylor was a famous breeder and thoroughbred owner, not only in Canada but throughout the United States. And of course, the turf course here is named the E.P. Taylor Turf Course in honor of the track's founder. E.P. Taylor also owned Winfield's Farm in Ontario and in Chesapeake City, Maryland. He bred, raced, and stood at stud Northern Dancer, the greatest thoroughbred sire of modern times. Of the 84 thoroughbreds that are entered in this year's Breeders' Cup, 54 of them have something in common. That something is the blood of Canada's own Northern Dancer. It was 1964, and Northern Dancer, always in blue and gold, dominated racing. He won 14 of his 16 races, giving credibility to Canadian thoroughbred breeding by winning 2/3 of the Triple Crown. E.P. Taylor, the Canadian native and founder of Woodbine, bred Northern Dancer here at Winfield's Farm. His sire was Neartic, a Winfield stallion. His dam was Natalma, and together they produced Northern Dancer, the finest thoroughbred sire in history. They said he was too small. They said a horse bred in Canada couldn't win America's greatest races, but he proved them wrong. It was at the Kentucky Derby that Northern Dancer emerged as a superstar, winning the race in track record time. He followed it up with an encore performance at the Preakness. And after entertaining thousands of racing fans, Northern Dancer would retire to Winfield's Farm to sire many racing greats. His yearlings sold for millions, and his influence will be felt for generations. Many of the world's champions today carry the blood of the legendary Northern Dancer. Even the Great Cigar. And in the paddock here at Woodbine, a statue of the great Northern Dancer, Canadian bred, won 2/3 of the Triple Crown, the greatest sire of modern times. We enumerated all the horses that have the name Northern Dancer in the first 4 crosses of their pedigree, the first 4 generations. In the mile, it's an incredible. There have been 13 winners now of the Breeders' Cup Mile. 9 of the 13 are direct male descendants of Northern Dancer. And a touch of irony here, too. Winfield's Farm, Charles Taylor, the son of E.P. Taylor, unable to come to the races at beloved Woodbine today because he is too ill. And all the Winfield's horses have been sold now. The final ones will be sold. Here's the catalog, a complete dispersal. Winfield's Farm coming up at Keeneland down in Kentucky on November 10th. And after that, Winfield's will be no more. But certainly in the memories and in the pedigrees of many, many champions throughout history, Northern Dancer will be around for a long time in that regard. Well, coming up is Ordway. Ordway is the morning line favorite for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He won the Champagne Stakes. And no odds to bring you because the tote system's still down here. So we know that on the morning line he was the 2-1 favorite. And we're told that the odds are up. look at the paddock. And there we go. Cash deposit at 9-2. Boston Harbor 4-1. Little surprised that he's not getting more play. Gold Tribute at 6. Gunfight 11. Ordway bet down to 6-5. Sal's Driver acceptable 16-1, and Falkenham at 33-1. Let's go down to Bob Newmeyer.
Here in the paddock, and as you can see, Wayne and Gary, I guess, have kissed and made up after that little difference of opinion that Gary acknowledged after the distaff with Serena's song. Wayne?
No, we had no difference of opinion. None at all. No, this guy and I are always going to be fine. Serena's song ran her eyeballs out, and she's still the queen in our barn, and I thought Gary wrote her well, and that's that. We're not going to ever worry about that. We're going to look on to bigger and better things in the future.
Well, we don't want to beat a dead horse, but some people were saying that he overheard you say, too slow a pace, Gary. Should have been on the lead. You know, kind of typical stuff after a race.
Well, these people pay their admission. They have opinions, and that's that.
All right, here they go. Wayne Lucas and Gary. All's well that ends well. Kissed and made up, and they're on to the Juvenile here. Let's go to Tom Hammond.
Well, it's always best to make up with your jockey if he is going out to ride for $1 million shortly. And there you see Boston Harbor, the Overbrook Farm Lucas trained horse with Jerry Bailey aboard. 5 of 6. He won a $1 million bonus for sweeping a series of races in Kentucky. He was 5-2 on the morning line, but last time we checked at 6-1. There's Gold Tribute and Gary Stevens all getting ready for the Juvenile. Championship day began with Craig Perret and Storm Song in the Juvenile Fillies. Lead Justice trainer Janine Sahadi and jockey Corey Nakatani shared a Breeders' Cup first in the sprint. And Nakatani does it again one race later, the day in dedication to his late sister Dawn. Gary Stevens and DeHaas win the mile. Coming up, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Ordway showed the poise of an older horse to emerge as New York's finest. But he must tangle with a Kentucky star with a New England name, Boston Harbor. Defending champion of the Classic, Cigar, and his jockey Jerry Bailey seek revenge for 2 recent losses that ended the long winning streak. They'll face the conqueror Dare and Go and jockey Alex Solis, the California team who broke up the long streak. Like their ancestors all over the world, the will to run. 1996 Breeders' Cup Championship Day, Woodbine Racetrack, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Horses are coming on the track for the $1 million Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And we have gotten the prices, even though the system is down here at Woodbine, and we understand they have not been paying off, although they have been taking bets on the Juvenile. DeHaas paying $18.90. Spinning World second, Same Old Wish was third, and those are the mutual payoffs for the Breeders' Cup Mile, although the problems with the tote system continue here at Woodbine. And today's beautiful shots, courtesy of the MetLife blimp Snoopy 1, cruising above Woodbine to provide you with this bird's eye view of the Breeders' Cup action. Blimp travels over 60,000 miles a year to cover sporting events and television specials across the United States and Canada. Well, the $1 million Juvenile for 2-year-old colts and geldings, 1 mile and a 16th, has a field of 10. And the jinx continues. None of the winners of this Breeders' Cup race have ever gone on to take the Kentucky Derby the next year, their 3-year-old year, even though this race annually establishes the favorite for the Run for the Roses. Although 10 starters in this juvenile race have emerged as the 2-year-old male champion at the end of the year. Update of the odds. Cash deposit 6. Boston Harbor now down to 3-1. Gold Tribute at 6-1. 6-5 favorite continues Ordway, and Acceptable at 12-1. Could be a big day, couldn't it, for George Steinbrenner. Number 1, Cash Deposit. Frank Stronach made a cash deposit, Canadian funds that is, when the colt won the Gray Stakes at this track and at this distance. He's 3 for 4 on the Woodbine main track. 2 horses, Boston Harbor, as he reunites the Overbrook Lucas Bailey team that won this year's Kentucky Derby with Grindstone. Carried his speed to victory in 5 of 6 starts, and look at those earnings. $1.4 million already after that $1 million Kentucky bonus. 3-horse Gold Tribute, still a maiden for Lucas, has never won a race, but keeping some good company. Second, the Del Mar Futurity. Third in the Champagne. 4 horses, His Honor, bred by owner Robert Rafferty of Ocala, Florida. First Breeders' Cup mount for the jockey Jimenez. This horse has won 3 of 5, racing exclusively in the Sunshine State. 5-horse Gunfight, firing blanks in the Champagne, running 4th for the buck from Oak Farm of Saudi native Mahmoud Fustak. Has only a Saratoga maiden win to his credit. 6 is Ordway, trained by Woody Stevens' protege David Donk. Shown a propensity for escaping trouble, breaking his maiden at Saratoga after being checked, then winning the Champagne with that move between horses after being blocked in the turn. 7-horse Zippers Up, and we hope so. Mike Pegram of Washington State has about 20 horses with Bob Baffert, including this colt, who has only a maiden win at Del Mar, then was second in the Norfolk. Corey Nakatani on the 8, Sal's Driver, owned by former Philadelphia policeman Sam Greco and his wife Lynn. Ridden by Jorge Chavez, actually here, leading rider in his native Purdue till he came to the U.S. On vacation in '88 and then stayed racing in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. This horse has had a couple of wins and a stakes placing. 9-horse Michelle's All Hands has been scratched. 10-horse Acceptable. His race was hardly acceptable in the Champagne, but is owned by George Steinbrenner. Could be a big day, as we said, for the boss. Nick Zito looking for his second Breeders' Cup win after winning the Juvenile Fillies. 11 is Falkenham, ships in from England, picks up Canadian jockey Mickey Walls. Won 3 of 4 in England, but today tries the dirt track for the first time. And there is Corey Nakatani riding the 7-horse Zippers Up. Zippers Up, one of the long shots, but Corey Nakatani on Zippers Up, hoping to be the first to ever win 3 races on Breeders' Cup Championship Day. There's your field for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. We'll return to Woodbine. 3 minutes till post time.
The Breeders' Cup Juvenile is sponsored by Visa. It's everywhere you want to be.
And welcome back to Woodbine. There's the 4-horse next to his pony, His Honor. A late rider change. We're told now that Craig Perrette has replaced Indir Jimenez as the jockey on His Honor. Tote problems continue here at Woodbine. The board is back in action, as you see, but there were some problems. Jim Gray has a report. Jim?
Well, Tom, the problem was a big American bettor bet $5,000 of American money. They tried to convert it so they could update the odds, and the computer process couldn't handle the conversion rate, so it bogged it down. Everything went down. It was just computer chaos back there. They finally have it up. One interesting note about it is the man who wagered the $5,000 had his bet killed and was very upset here with the track officials. Then his horse did not win, so he saved himself $5,000. Tom?
Better to be lucky than good, huh? It's been my life's ambition to put the tote board down with a winning bet. Speaking of winning bets, the guys on the internet are put our handicappers to shame. Guys, you got to pick it up a notch.
Yeah, but we just heard from Jim Gray what can happen to those computers. They can crash at any time. We're still flying here, Bob.
That's why they have computers. They're smart.
But anyway, the 2-year-old race, the 2-year-old juvenile, a lot of years comes down to the best of the East against the best of the West. This year, I think it comes down to the best of the East in Ordway and the best of the Midwest in Boston Harbor. And Bob, being a Boston guy, I got a feeling you have to take Boston Harbor.
No. I live over Boston Harbor. I don't bet on it. No. In fact, I've made one too many cash deposits here at Woodbine today, which leads me to my selection here, and that is Cash Deposit. And this is the horse for the course. This is a terrific young 2-year-old who's raced exclusively here at Woodbine, smashing here in the Gray Stakes 3 weeks ago. He's 3 for 5 lifetime. His connection so confident that in his first race, Mike, they entered him in a stakes race, not even a flat maiden. That's how high they were on Cash Deposit.
Well, I think he has a heck of a chance. I got down strictly between Ordway and Boston Harbor. I went for Boston Harbor because of the fact that he's had 2 straight wins at a mile and a 16th. We'll see him in the Kentucky Cup Juvenile just drawing away from horses in the stretch. This was such an impressive performance. Everybody that saw it was really impressed with the horse. He came back in the Breeders' Futurity, had a rough race, was headed in the stretch, but he came back to win that. He showed some guts. He's got speed. I think he's going to be very tough to handle.
Wayne has 2 good shots today. I think you're right. And Gold Tribute another one. But how about a sleeper or 2? I like Gunfight. He ran a nice race to Ordway in the Champagne, had a tough spot the outside, ran a decent 4th or 5th. So Gunfight at 12-1 would be my long shot. I'll take anything at this point.
And my sleeper is your pick, Cash Deposit. I think he really could run a big race.
So I guess that, what do we say, one man's sleeper is another man's selection.
There you go.
Tom?
I can't believe Neville, you picked Ordway. I'm taking Ordway, and if you guys don't start picking winners, we're going to leave you here in Canada with mutton chops. Mile and a 16th is the distance for the Juvenile again. The same race as the Juvenile Fillies, which opened Breeders' Cup Day. They start just beyond the finish line, a complete circuit back to the wire for that purse of $1 million and probably championship of the 2-year-old division. Although last year Unbridled Song won at the Breeders' Cup and Maria's Mon went on to be champion. Greg, we're getting them loaded in the gate. Anything going on out on the horseback next to the starting gate?
Tom, they're all acting really, really well. These colts are doing just great, and I'm with you. I like Ordway. I love a young horse that doesn't mind running into the dirt and goes through a tiny opening like he did. And John Velasquez is gaining more and more confidence with each one of these big races that he's winning. Tom?
All right, they're in the gate for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, $1 million, sponsored by Visa. And with the call, here's Tom Durkin.
And the final horses taking their spots, Acceptable and England's Falconham. You know, maybe I'm thinking about mutton chops. Maybe he got shut out with this computer quiz. In the gate, and they're off. And Boston Harbor and Cash Deposit to his inside, but pressure coming the outside from Zippers Up, Sal's driver, and hung up in the middle of the track. 5 wide is Acceptable. Tucking neatly in behind him is Gold Tribute. Ordway is running a bit wide going into the turn, and then it's Gunfight. Then farther back, Falconham and His Honor trailing the field. Boston Harbor blazes the way around the first turn. Got a quarter in 23 1/5 seconds, but a host of pursuers in behind him. Just in behind it, Zippers Up. Sal's driver moving 3 wide, moving 4 wide, Acceptable. Cash Deposit just in behind the ladies' 5th now. Gold Tribute in a bit of trouble. He came very wide into the stretch. He's been shuffled back toward the back of the pack. In the meantime, Ordway cruising easily about 6 lengths from Boston Harbor, who's up top. Gunfight down inside. Gold Tribute struggling just a bit here. Then a break of 3 to Falconham, and His Honor is the trailer. The half went in 46 4/5 seconds. The pace is strong, and Boston Harbor continues to lead the way as the field moves into the far turn. Cash Deposit trying to pick it up second on the inside. Sal's driver for the inside, Zippers Up. Acceptable moving on the outside. Boston Harbor is opening up on the field. Boston Harbor draws away to a 3-length lead. Cash Deposit at second. Acceptable is putting in his bid. Ordway splits horses, but he's got a lot to do. He's 6 lengths behind. Boston Harbor, who heads for home with the 3-length lead. But here comes Acceptable trying to mow him down with a furlong to go. On the inside, it's Cash Deposit. It is Boston Harbor tenaciously trying to fight off Acceptable as they come down to the line. Boston Harbor digs down deep, and yes, he would not be denied a championship. It is Boston Harbor the winner by a head over Acceptable. Farther back, Ordway finishes 3rd. Boston Harbor showing the stuff that champions are made of today. He is the 2-year-old champion as jockey Jerry Bailey guides him to victory all the way on the rail and all the way on the lead.
All right, thank you, Tom. Boston Harbor, what courage he showed. Boston Harbor holding off George Steinbrenner's Acceptable. Lucas beating Zito. You couldn't keep Lucas shut out long. Zito bidding for his 2nd win of the day. And here it is, Boston Harbor. Jerry Bailey getting a little late here, getting a little tired. Acceptable passes Ordway and takes up the challenge. Boston Harbor there, now the hand ride from Bailey. And here comes Acceptable with Shane Sellers up. Feeling the whip left-handed. He's gaining on Boston Harbor, but he can't get by him. Bailey and Boston Harbor digging down, showing their grit and holding on. This has to be the champion 2-year-old colt of 1996. Acceptable just can't get by, and Boston Harbor takes the victory. for Wayne Lucas, his 13th win on Breeders' Cup Championship Day. And Nick Zito just that close to getting his second of the afternoon. Let's go to Greg McCarron.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Jerry, that was a great stretch run. Boy, he run game as can be.
Yeah, Greg, he is very game. I learned it last time. In fact, he let a horse go all the way by him before he really gave it his best run. It's not good on my heart, but he obviously likes it.
Well, we're not going to worry about your heart right now. Congratulations, Jerry. Back to you, Tom.
6th Breeders' Cup victory for jockey Jerry Bailey, with cigar yet to come. He's starting to close in on Pat Day as the leading Breeders' Cup jockey winner of all time. Boston Harbor in the Overbrook Farm colors of W.T. Young, trained by Wayne Lucas and ridden to victory by Jerry Bailey. Boston Harbor wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Wayne Lucas trained Capote to victory in the 1986 Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and Capote here sires the 1-2 finishers in the 96 Breeders' Cup Juvenile, Boston Harbor and Acceptable. Let's go down to Bob Newmeyer.
With Shane Sellers runner-up on Acceptable. Boy, Shane, if there was ever a horse that looked like a winner at the top of the stretch, it was your 2-year-old Acceptable. Did you think so?
I thought I had him. I really did. They kept him honest in the front, and my colt came from the 10 hole, and I really had a tough time getting in on the first turn, but you know, I had to ride him and give him a chance to win, and I really thought I had him turned for home, but he was game, and he outfought me to the wire.
And down the stretch, at any time, it appeared that you had him measured, but it didn't happen.
Well, as a rider, when I turned for home and my colt got over to his right lead and I hit him left-handed, I thought I had him. And I watched this other colt run last time, and he laid down the last 16 of a mile, and I really thought I had him, but you know, he's a champion, and he fought hard, and you got to give my horse a lot of credit coming from the 10-hole to run like he did. He's got a bright future.
Shane, your youngster's owned by Mr. George Steinbrenner. This is a big day for him with the Yankees trying to clinch the World Series. I'm wondering if there was any conversation with the boss that you had either today or prior to this race.
No, sir. I've never even met the man. It's just Nick giving me a shot to ride this colt now, and I'm very fortunate and grateful that they stuck with me, and I believed in him from the beginning, and I told Nick after Champagne to run him in the Breeders' Cup, and I think with a little better post position when I had a better chance.
All right, Shane Sellers for George Steinbrenner, his horse, and of course the boss hoping that he doesn't run second with the Yankees in the last couple of games of the Fall Classic. Tom?
George, send a plane for Shane. Get him up there tonight for the World Series. You've never met him. He could be there when the Yankees clinch tonight. Boston Harbor is a Kentucky bred by W.T. Young's Overbrook Farm, also the owner by Capote out of Harbor Springs by Vice Regent. He's earned now nearly $2 million, an all-time record for a 2-year-old. Let's go to Trevor Denman.
Well, very interesting again going into that first turn, Tom. Quite a bit of trouble, but Acceptable on the extreme outside here doesn't really have trouble. It's just the problem that he's drawn so wide out he can't get in. But watch this guy right in here. That's the other D. Wayne Lucas horse, Gold Tribute, and he's really going to get into a lot of trouble. You watch from the outside again in the blue colors, Acceptable. No alternative but to go wide, and there's Gary Stevens. They're going to chop him off right there. You see him take up very sharply in the irons. His foot almost came out the irons. He went very wide into that far turn. I tell you what, Gold Tribute ran a huge race. He finished up 5th, beaten about 4 lengths, and he's going to go wide again a little later on. So unfortunate for Acceptable, and a lot of trouble for another D. Wayne Lucas horse, Gold Tribute. He might have had the exacta. But as it was, I'm sure he's not going to mind, because he's in the winner's circle with Boston Harbor. Acceptable, and Gold Tribute certainly we're going to hear more from him, that's for sure. A lot of trouble today, very wide on both turns because of that incident in the first turn. They had no alternative but to go wide, and then wide again on the second turn. Tom?
All right, Trevor, so Boston Harbor wins. Gold Tribute, we saw him as they went by us, and all sorts of trouble for Gary Stevens, but Boston Harbor showed his gameness, didn't he, giving Wayne Lucas his 5th win in this race, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
Thanks, Tom. And with me, winning owner, Mr. W.T. Young, owner of the Overbrook Farm, to make the presentation, Mr. D.G. Van Cleef, Executive Director, Breeders' Cup Limited.
Thank you. On behalf of Breeders' Cup Limited, we want to thank Visa, the preferred payment card of Breeders' Cup, for sponsoring the Juvenile, and to congratulate the Overbrook Farm team and Mr. Young on a wonderful colt, wonderful effort, great race. Congratulations.
Mr. Young, congratulations on a great horse. Thank you very much. We'd like to get Wayne Lucas in here to talk a little bit about this horse. And of course, you had Grindstone, who won the Kentucky Derby, Editor's Note, who won the Belmont. Now it looks like the 2-year-old champ in Boston Harbor.
Well, and he's got a big bankroll. I hope he can carry it through to the spring. We're tickled to death, obviously. We elected through a lot of thought and reasoning to stay in Kentucky and go for the $1 million, and then we thought we could maybe look good here, and it came together.
And Jerry Bailey, heck of a ride, Jerry. Did you think you were beat at the top of the stretch?
Well, no, not after the last time I rode this horse. Wayne and I talked about it long and hard, and he's got such a good heart in him and a lot of fight. I was really never worried this time.
Yeah. And Mr. Young, you happy with this team you got here?
Oh yes, Jerry learned on the last race, so he came through this time.
All right. Congratulations, everybody. Great win by Boston Harbor. Back to you, Tom.
And he's now the favorite for next year's Kentucky Derby. Will he break the jinx? Will he be the one that wears the roses? No winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile has ever done so. Complete order of finish: Boston Harbor, Acceptable, and the favorite Ordway. Then Cash Deposit, Falconham, Gold Tribute, Zippers Up, Gunfight, His Honor, and Sal's Driver ran last. Coming up, the next to last race on Breeders' Cup Day, the $2 million Breeders' Cup Turf. Here are the morning line odds for the Turf. That 4-horse entry. Sheikh Mohammed's 4-horse entry at 9-5. They'll be tough. Diplomatic Jet, Fred Hooper's horse, 5-1. Dushan Tour at 8-1. Rick's Natural Star is that extreme long shot we'll tell you more about. Pilsudski's 6, Awad is 4 on the morning line, and Chief Bearheart with the Canadian Hopes at 12-1. When we come back, we'll tell you about the talk of the racing world this week. We'll explore all the ramifications of Rick's Natural Star after a word from your local station. The northern splendor of Canada's Woodbine Racecourse, where the brisk air invigorates man and beast, and where there is a world-class turf course, a course that will test the best in the U.S., like Diplomatic Jet, against a strong European contingent led by Singspiel. And what to make of this horse, Rick's Natural Star, in the same field, but not of the same class. Later in the Classic, America's richest race, Cigar looks to repeat and extract a measure of revenge against one of his conquerors. Dare and Go. Does that sweet young filly Yanks music have a surprise plan for the big boys? And there is that expansive turf course at Woodbine, 22 acres in all. And the talk of not only the racing world, but really all of America in the days leading up to the Breeders' Cup was this horse, Rick's Natural Star. 99-1 on the morning line. Now we'll be tracking the odds throughout the course of the lead up to the race, but keep in mind that the tote board can only show 99-1. It could be much more than that. This horse, well, it's an unbelievable story. Is it a true Cinderella story, or is it a farce? Tom Durkin explores the phenomenon of Rick's Natural Star.
Well, I think the establishment was wrong, because it's the best thing that can happen to Breeders' Cup for someone to take a chance and realize their dream. That's what racing's about.
Does Dr. William Livingston know racing? This week, some have placed him and his horse, Rick's Natural Star, among the lovable losers of sport. Reminiscent of Eddie the Eagle, who soared to fame as an incompetent Olympic ski jumper, or perhaps the Jamaican bobsled team, which was also more curiosity than capability. Yet, however poor their performances, these athletes only threatened themselves. That may not be the case here. Rick's Natural Star has not run a race in over a year, and his last win 3 years ago.
If we get out in front and then widen our lead, well, he's going to win.
The odyssey of Livingston and his horse began in Artesia, New Mexico. He decided to pay $40,000 to enter his horse in the Breeders' Cup, despite all shortcomings. His attempt to enter Canada from Detroit caused a customs flap over the horse's registration that might have been comical had not Livingston corralled his horse outside his motel, tethered on a fence. He has become an instant celebrity at Woodbine this week, answering all questions from the media.
Very seldom is.
When was the horse's last race?
I don't know.
Your horse's chances are that he hasn't raced in more than a year.
He's going to win.
Here in Toronto, Livingston has obliged members of the press with mounts on his prize steed. These antics might seem harmlessly eccentric were it not for the horse's unfortunate participation. Consider, for example, the unique training method he employs back in New Mexico.
We worked him with a pickup until he was going about 30 miles an hour, and he kind of kicked at the...
Now, let me get this picture.
I was driving by myself.
You're driving a Jeep.
A pickup.
Pickup.
And I was holding him out the window with a lead. And he's pulling, wanting to go, and he kicked and hit the back fender, and I didn't think too much about that. And then he did kind of a fishtail, and he kicked the door right underneath my arm, going 30 miles an hour. And
well, don't you think, though, that is dangerous? I mean, dangerous for the horse?
Yeah, well, not for the horse. He's not going to kick anybody. He's going to run. She's not going to hold him back like I was.
No, but I mean, the training itself, isn't that dangerous, the way you train?
Oh, yeah, that's dangerous. But we survived.
This is a horse that has had only one workout in 3 years. This defies everything that has ever been done in preparing horses for thoroughbred racing, probably since, you know, the breed was found in 1765.
Well, it's a little unusual.
To say it's a little unusual.
I would like to have done it a little different, but that's the way it worked out, and that's the only thing I could do.
The only thing Breeders' Cup officials can do is let the horse run. Rick's Natural Star passed final inspection this morning, but he may yet inspire a change in the rules.
I think it's going to probably dictate that we review our policies for the future to determine the fitness, the competitiveness of the individual, and whether or not to require certain definitive performance mandates for that he runs at least during the current year that he's planning on running in the Breeders' Cup.
Well, right now,
all I can say is
Rick's Natural Star is less than 30 to 1, which shows that his odds being less than 30 to 1, that the people here at Woodbine like an underdog. I suppose they like a Don Quixote tilting at windmills, but there's been a lot of resentment from the people that work with the horses here at Woodbine this week, not about the vast publicity that this horse has gotten, but because Dr. Livingston violated the first rule of a good horseman. He put his own self-interest ahead of the well-being and health of this animal. And that's why there's been this resentment. It's not something that a good horseman would do, and entering a preposterous horse like this in this race is nothing that even Don Quixote would do.
All right, Tom, and 29 to 1. All I can say is there are some incurable romantics here at the track at Woodbine. For instance, another horse in here, Marlin, who is a Grade 1 winner, won the Secretariat at Arlington Park on the turf, and he's 45 to 1. This horse, who hasn't raced in 14 months and was last in a $3,500 claiming race then, has never been on the turf, on and on and on, is drawing some action. Let's check the current odds. The 4-horse entry, 6 to 5, continues as the favorite, Rick's Natural Star. Unbelievable, 29 to 1. Believe me, folks, he has no chance of winning. It'd be like me racing Michael Johnson and Donovan Bailey. It won't happen. Talwar is 6. Awad, the late closer, is 4 to 1. This whole thing would be hilarious if there weren't that element of danger. John Veach, a horse that hasn't been trained, that hasn't been in this experience, that has never had anything like this happen to him. Is there a danger that what he'll do is unpredictable? You don't know what he might do.
There is a grave danger. Now, here's a horse that's going to be stressed terribly this afternoon, and as has been pointed out, he's really not been conditioned for this. Almost anything could happen, and we're not just talking about the welfare of one horse or one jockey, and that in itself is enough to be concerned about, and in some situations enough to put a stop to. But we're talking about every horse in this field. When they open the gates of that starting gate, this horse could do anything. He could go right, he could go left, knocking the horses down on either side of him. He could prop and wheel and possibly run off the wrong way if he could get through the gate. There are infinitesimal, things that could happen in this race, and there is enough danger and enough chance for serious and grievous injury with horses that are fully conditioned. And as I think that Tom really put his finger on it, here's a person that's put their personal agenda over the well-being of a very noble beast.
Well, we'll hope for the best. Lisa McFarland will ride Rick's Natural Star in the turf. Let's hope it goes without incident. Breeders' Cup Turf coming up. MetLife Blimp Snoopy 1 teamed up with NBC Sports to bring you these aerial shots of the Breeders' Cup. Blimp typically cruises at an altitude of 1,200 feet at about the speed of a top-class racehorse, 35 miles an hour. And the horses are in the paddock for the Breeders' Cup Turf. $2 million purse for this race. Mile and a half on the grass. And one of the chief U.S. hopes in this race is Diplomatic Jet. There he is, winner of the Turf Classic at Belmont, and a victory today could wrap up an Eclipse Award for him. But just as big a story as the horse is his owner, Fred Hooper. Fred Hooper, now 99 years old. He was born in Georgia red clay country on a farm, worked horses, and after he built a successful construction company, decided to get into racing. 1943, the yearling sales were held in the paddock at Keeneland because of wartime travel restrictions. They couldn't go to Saratoga to sell, so he bought a horse for just over $10,000. And here, 2 years later, Hoop Jr., named after Fred Hooper's son, won the Kentucky Derby 1945. And to make it even better, he bet $10,000 to win on Hoop Jr., quite a sum in 1945. And there is the young Fred Hooper, now 99 years old, leading Hoop Jr. into the winner's circle. He's had Olympia, Crozier, Susan's Girl, Copeland, so many good ones. Breeders' Cup Sprint winner, Precisionist, and he's had all those good horses his own way, breeding them to his own stallions, his own mares. He defies fashionable breeding. He breeds what he thinks is right, and who can argue with the success he's had. 99-year-old Fred Hooper, owner of Diplomatic Jet, one of the favorites in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Sheikh Mohammed's 4-horse entry continues to be the 6-5 favorite. You can get 7-1 if you like the best U.S. hope, Diplomatic Jet. Rick's Natural Star, 34-1. See the other horses with Awad coming in now at 9-2. I guess he is the chief U.S. hope. Now to our Prudential Update studio. Here's Ahmad Rashad.
This is the NBC.
Update of the odds for the Breeders' Cup Turf. Sheikh Mohammed's 4-horse entry at 6-5. The European challengers, including Sing Spiel, probably the favorite part of that 4-horse entry. Hooper's Diplomatic Jet, 7-1. Rick's Natural Star, 36-1. I swear I thought he'd be 200-1. I'm shocked that he's 36. Talwar at 7-1, and Awad at 9-2. Second choice in the betting. 0 for the year, but a definite factor with his late running style here in the mile-and-a-half Breeders' Cup Turf. This race is traditionally the closest of all the Breeders' Cup races. In fact, the previous 12 races had been decided by a total. That's a total margin of 5 lengths over 12 races. There you see 11 of the 12 less than a length at the wire. It's also a race that produces champions. 9 champions have raced in this Breeders' Cup Turf. And we've seen that the Europeans had a formidable challenge in the mile, but failed with Mark of Esteem. They come back here as the favorites in the turf. What does the earlier race tell us about what might happen to the Europeans here?
Well, I don't know. I think they have a much better chance here. They've got 4 very outstanding European horses. Sing Spiel, who has come over here and won on this course, is an exceptionally good horse, and he's rated maybe 2nd or even 3rd of the 4-horse entry. Certainly, Awad has done a lot. Awad has not been quite as effective on a soft turf course as he has been on a very firm course. But we did hear earlier in the day, Gary Stevens said that he felt the turf was very firm and very good. And of course, the European jockey, who was unsuccessful, said it was very soft. Yeah. So anyway,
and meanwhile, Rick's Natural Star has just now making his appearance. They couldn't get him out of the tunnel apparently. Greg was down there by him. Greg, what went on?
I'll tell you, it was a scene that you wouldn't want to see. Rick's Natural Star froze 2 or 3 times, lunged away from his handler. The jockey almost fell off 2 or 3 times. I mean, he was giving everybody a fit down there. Finally, they got him with a pony. He walked off, froze again, run backwards twice, and finally they got him through the tunnel. He just didn't want to go through that tunnel. Looks like he might make it from here. Tom?
Well, they should not be putting that horse through that. But there's no way to prevent it. The rules currently in place. Here we go with the post parade. The one horse Sheikh Mohammed, the Minister of Defense in Dubai, the largest investor of the four Maktoum brothers, has this powerful 4-horse entry. Swain, trained in France by Andre Fabre, comes off a 4th place finish in the Arc de Triomphe. And by the way, Sheikh Mohammed's private 747 parked not far from Woodbine at the Toronto airport. 1A is Shantou. They requested an Appaloosa lead pony. Appaloosas are the ones with the spots. Looks like they got their money's worth with Shantou, trained by John Gosden, who spent several years in California before returning to his native England. 1N, Wall Street, picks up American jockey Jose Santos. Won his only race at 1.5 miles, Ascot's Cumberland Lodge Stakes, by Mr. Prospector, who is currently tied with Nijinsky as the all-time leading sire of stakes winners. 1X, the last horse of the entry in post 10, maybe the best, Sing Spiel, ridden for the 2nd time by Gary Stevens, who guided this colt to a 2-length win over 1.5 miles of soft turf on this Woodbine course in the Canadian International. 2-horse Diplomatic Jet, in the colors of Fred Hooper, may cause Jorge Chavez to ask for some early run in that post position number 1. Had a bad race on soft turf at Saratoga, but comes here off the Kelso handicap victory with an Eclipse Award in sight. 3 horses, Dushan Tour. There he is, owned by the Juddmonte Farm of Saudi Prince Khalid Abdullah, trained by English leader Henry Cecil, 2nd to Shantou in the St. Leger 6 weeks ago. Rick's Natural Star, where is he? Out there all by himself at the moment. Let's hope he finishes before they start the Classic. 5-horse Luna Wells, the only 3-year-old filly in the race, and so getting a 6-pound weight break, ridden by Frenchman Thierry Jarnet, competes in top company but hasn't won since May. Number 6 is Talwar. And there's Talwar, trained by Richard Mandela, who ranks 3rd behind Lucas and Mott in the U.S. trainer standings. 4th on this turf course in the 95 Rothmans International, eased on the soft going at Belmont in last year's Breeders' Cup turf. He's run but twice this year and not since August. 7, who got an early start on the post parade and is vigorously warming up, as you see, without a pony, is Pilsudski, Polish name for a son of Polish precedent, owned by Lord Arnold Weinstock of Great Britain. This is the Arc runner-up, who seems to move up on a soft turf course. 8 horses Marlin, Shane Sellers, the hot rider, just finished 2nd. Hooks the mount on this 3-year-old Lucas trained colt. Been 3rd to Diplomatic Jet his last 2 races. Number 9 will be Awad. I know you think that's a strange name. He was named for a friend of the Rye Hill farm owner James Ryan, the friend visiting when the colt was foaled. And we can't find him. Awad was 6th in last year's turf. He's 0 for 9 in 1996. Needs a fast pace to set up that furious charge at the end. In fact, he raced the last quarter 22 3/5, which is extremely good. Just missed catching Diplomatic Jet in the Kelso. He's the earnings champ of the field too, although he may not like the soft going today. There's Windsharp, the 10, 5-year-old mare who can wrap up female turf honors with a win over the boys, and she's beaten them before. She's 0 for 2, however, on this Woodbine course. Just come back from an operation on her soft palate to correct a breathing problem. And completing the field is number 11, the Canadian Hope, Chief Bearheart, ridden by Sandy Hawley, the national hero for his many U.S. riding accomplishments, owned by Ernie Samuel Sansom Farm, an Ontario powerhouse. 2nd to Sing Spiel in the Canadian International. That was his only loss in 3 starts over this Woodbine turf course. And there is the aforementioned Awad, finally located him in the Rye Hill Farm colors, warming up prior to his start in the Breeders' Cup turf. Well, we've invited you all day long to join us on the net. The interactive poll, they like Awad. Diplomatic Jet, the 2 U.S. horses before Sing Spiel, a member of the favorite entry. So on the net, they're picking Awad. And how good has that been? Well, they have picked 4 of the first 5 winners. Meanwhile, here's what we think of our handicappers. Not much.
Bob, what do they think of us?
Silence is deafening.
Maybe that's it.
Now let me get this straight. I picked a horse last year in the sprint. He ran 27th in a 20-horse field. He wins this year, right? So I'm there for the funeral, not the wedding.
Little late.
I live over Boston Harbor, and I don't pick
that one.
Tough day.
It is, it is. But this race now, I think that I have to like the 4-horse entry. You got to love it. 4 for the price of 1. What was it, 33 years ago, the original Fab 4 came over here from England. This is Sheikh Mohammed's Fab 4. He's got Swain, Shantou, Wall Street, and my personal favorite, Sing Spiel, who we see right here winning the Canadian International in his first start outside of Europe. I thought it was very impressive, the fact that he handled this course the way that he did. I think he's an improving 4-year-old. He's raced 5 times, 3 wins, and 2 seconds. Of the 4, I give the edge to Sing Spiel.
Now, do we get credit for the W if any of the 4 horses win of the century? I think so.
But of course.
Because I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to go with another of the 4-ply entry, and that would be Swain. This is a guy who loves the distance. He's a legitimate 1.5-mile horse. He's run the grade 1s in Europe. He's 7 out of 11 lifetime, and another one of those terrific true stayers that can negotiate the long marathon at 1.5 miles. How about a couple of sleepers?
I got to go for Chief Bearheart. Now we're getting the horse
they're laughing at us. No respect.
Anyway, Chief Bearheart finished second to Sing Spiel. Now they got me going, Bob. Finished second to Sing Spiel in the Canadian International. He's a big price in here. He's an improving 3-year-old. I think he has a legitimate chance.
So Chief Bearheart's Mike's sleeper, and mine is Talwa. He's only had 2 runs this year, but he's got plenty of class.
What are we hearing here? A late scratch. Who could it be? Yanks Music.
The Yanks Music has been scratched from the Classic, which is interesting. I think a lot of folks were perhaps anticipating the scratch of not our sleeper, but the
horse asleep. I was.
Yes.
I really thought they were going to announce that Rick's Natural Star was scratched. I honestly believe that Greg McCarron and his lead pony would have a better chance than Rick's Natural Star in this race.
You know, it's amazing. I looked up at the tote board, and there's about $30,000 bet to win on this horse. I mean, you can put a kid through college and Ivy League education for $30,000 a year. Tom said that people are romantic. I say they're suckers. I just hope this horse doesn't influence the race. It would be a disgrace and an embarrassment to the Breeders' Cup if he does.
I agree with you 100%. Tom?
Well, there is Rick's Natural Star. We're hoping for the best as we get ready for the Breeders' Cup turf. Woodbine, that's Rick's Natural Star behind the starting gate. Greg McCarron, things going okay so far. He looks like he doesn't want to go into the gate. Not surprising. He had a little problem in it training the other morning. What do you think?
He's been standing still and freezing just about through the whole post parade. It looks like they want to load him early to try to get the trouble out of the way, but right now they're having trouble getting him to go in.
Rick's Natural Star behind the gate. Lisa McFarland, the jockey. And still won't go in. Assistant starters now will give an assist, and Rick's Natural Star is in the gate. 50 to 1, and again I thought he'd be 200 to 1. This race 1.5 miles, the undulating turf course, the 4-horse Sheikh Mohammed entry, the even money favorite at the moment. Awad is the chief U.S. choice. 1.5 miles on the turf for $2 million. Here's Tom Durkin.
Shantou moving into the starting gate, and on the far outside, Chief Bearcat. 14 poise for this 1.5 mile turf classic. They're in the gate. And they're off. Rick's Natural Star is trying to get to the early lead, but down inside, Diplomatic Jet is right there. It's Diplomatic Jet down inside. Rick's Natural Star is up close to the pace, and then toward the inside, Swain third, Sing Spiel is running in fourth. Marlin is now fifth on the outside. Luna Wells is sixth toward the rail. Pilsudski is seventh between horses. Dushantour is eighth. Wall Street is ninth. Chief Bearcat 10th on the outside. Wind Sharp is 11th. Swain is drafting in behind horses, running in 12th position now, and then it's Talwa, and Awad is at the back of the pack as the field rounds the far turn. It is Diplomatic Jet and a pesky Rick's Natural Star right there with him to a quarter in 24 1/5 seconds. Marlin will make a move for the lead on the outside third. Just in behind Chief Bearcat. Now taking to the outside. And in between horses, Singspiel. Down toward the inside is Swain, followed by Pilsudski as Rich Natural Stars backing up through the pack. Windsharp is in the clear on the outside, followed by the filly Luna Wells toward the rail. Wall Street is moving comfortably, strong, about 7 lengths from the lead. Then it's Duxian Tour, followed by Shantu Talwa. Rich Natural Star continues to plummet. Awad, the stretch runner, is about 15 lengths from the lead. 6 furlongs out, and they have run 3/4 of a mile in 1:15 and 2. Heading for the far turn, Diplomatic Jet, and Singspiel is right at his flank. Swain's had a good trip so far, just in behind the lead. Marlin poised on the outside. Pilsudski covered up as in between horses. And then it's Windsharp. Chief Bearcat moving 4 wide round the far turn. Then Luna Wells followed by Wall Street. Duxian Tour is next, followed by Shantu. Awad begins to unwind now. He's 10 lengths from the lead as they round the far turn. Singspiel seizing the lead from Diplomatic Jet. But Windsharp is right there with Singspiel now. Diplomatic Jet is toiling toward the inside. On the outside, Chief Bearcat right there in the hunt. Pilsudski is in the thick of it in between horses. Here comes Shantu swinging into action on the outside. And Awad is uncorking his rally too. They're coming down toward the final furlong marker. Singspiel is in front. Pilsudski to the attack with the furlong to go. Down toward the inside, it's Swain. They're coming inside the final 16th now. Pilsudski at the throw edge of Singspiel. Pilsudski takes the lead in the shadow of the wire. Pilsudski is the winner by a length. Singspiel was second. Swain was third. And there is the hapless Rick's Natural Star trotting home to the jeers and some cheers of the crowd. But there's the real hero in this Breeders' Cup turf, Pilsudski. Pilsudski ridden flawlessly this afternoon by Wally Swinburne.
And cheering for Rich Natural Star. And let me say hats off to Lisa McFarland for bringing the horse back safe. She had a run at the early lead when she knew it was over. She eased him back, made sure he was out of harm's way for the rest of the horses, didn't abuse this horse, and thankfully the adventure has ended safely for Rick's Natural Star and Lisa McFarland. Well, the stretch run, Pilsudski, as the Europeans did all the running here. Pilsudski, Walter Swinburne, one of the perennial leaders in the English jockey standings. Pilsudski, who has raced in Europe, who raced in the Arc de Triomphe before coming to the Breeders' Cup, the world's most prestigious race, certainly in terms of longevity, challenged now by the Breeders' Cup Classic. But here is the Arc runner-up, Pilsudski, that overhauls Singspiel, who had the benefit of a race over the course. Didn't matter. Pilsudski comes blazing home to victory for Walter Swinburne to take the $2 million Breeders' Cup turf for the European invaders. Owned by Lord Weinstock and the executors of the estate of the late Simon Weinstock, trained by Michael Stout. Let's go to Greg McCarran.
Wally, that was a great stretch run, and looks like to me you're pretty speechless.
I can't tell you what that means. You know, I look back as far as February, and you know, there was many dark days. This means an awful lot, and I dedicate this to my family.
Walter, I'll tell you, I've seen many, many emotions after a big race, and I haven't seen one quite as nice as this. Congratulations.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you.
Back to you, Tom.
Overcome with the emotion of the moment, Walter Swinburne, his first win in 14 Breeders' Cup tries. Pilsudski, Michael Stout there on the left of your screen, getting his first Breeders' Cup win. Always one of the top trainers in England. And Walter Swinburne, actually 17 rides for Swinburne in the Breeders' Cup, the first time he has worn the flowers. Well, Rick's Natural Star pulled up by Lisa McFarland. Let's go down to Bob Newmeyer with Lisa.
All right, Tom. Lisa, Most people, myself included, in racing, thought this was a joke of the highest proportion. I'm wondering, going into this race, whether you thought this was a joke.
No, I figured if the man had enough money or enough credibility or enough confidence in this horse, that he must think he's got a chance. And of course, nobody knew about his training methods or whatever, but he swore his horse was fit enough and figured he'd match with his type. So I'm just here to ride races, and if he needed a rider, I was open to ride the horse and give it my best shot.
I think you had more responsibility in your shoulders than even you would know. A problem in the tunnel, and then early on, a pretty good break, and you were up there with the leaders, and then the inevitable.
Yeah, but again, it's not a question of whether the horse has the speed to do it all the time. It's a matter of whether they're outclassed. And even an $8,000 horse can be outclassed if they've got tons of speed going in against horses for $50,000. So it's just a question of whether the horse knew what company he was running with.
Were you concerned about, the horse finishing the race, the danger factor either for you, this horse, or maybe even other riders and horses in this prestigious race?
No, I wasn't concerned because I've been on the horse and I know his little antics, and I get along fairly well with the horse. I warned the rider in the gate beside me, if he's going to come out, he's going to come out sideways to the right, but he didn't. The key was just to turn his head loose and let him run his race.
It seemed, though, that other riders were kind of eyeballing you as you went into the first turn. Were you aware of that? They were kind of looking around, almost to suggest, Lisa, that there was a loose horse involved in this situation.
Yeah, well, I guess you could judge that by the crowd, too.
All right, the Odyssey is over.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm grateful to have had this opportunity. I couldn't imagine all the publicity I would have got along with the horse. And, of course, I have Doc Livingston to thank for the mount.
And I know a lot of people were thankful that there was no incident, so good luck.
Right, thank you.
Okay, Lisa McFarland, Rick's Natural Star. Tom?
Thanks, Bob. Meanwhile, Walter Swinburne, the crowning moment of a very difficult year. It began in February for him in Hong Kong when his horse Liffey River ran through the rails there, leaving Walter Swinburne with multiple skull fractures. And he ends the year on October 26th with his first Breeders' Cup victory. A European sweep in the Breeders' Cup turf. Pilsudski 29-40, 980 and 750. He is a 4-year-old colt by Polish precedent out of Cocotte by Troy, bet in Ireland by the Ballymacall stud. Singspiel second and Swain third, both parts of the 4-horse Sheikh Mohammed entry. And for the winner's circle presentation, let's go to Mike.
Okay. And here with the winning trainer and rider, Michael Stout, Walter Swinburne, to present the trophy, Ted Bassett, president of Breeders' Cup Limited.
Congratulations, Michael, on a wonderful training job, and Walter, a magnificent ride. Congratulations.
Thank you very much indeed. Good.
And Michael, this horse just ran a huge race, second in the arc last time out, comes back here. Not only does he win, he beats a horse that you saddled. You ran one too, Singspiel, both horses that you saddled.
Yes, we didn't think there was much between them. This is a remarkably tough horse who has just continued to progress through the year, And it's a sad moment because Lord Weinstock's son, Simon, owned the horse in partnership, and they bred him, and Simon tragically died in April, and he always thought the world of this horse, and it's a moment to think of him, or certainly I am.
And Walter, you've also had a bit of a tragic year. This has to be a great feeling for you.
Well, it truly is, and I just echo what the boss said. It's everything involved with the horse has there have been many sad things, and so my thoughts are with the Weinstock family, and also I dedicate this to my parents, who without their support this day wouldn't have been possible.
Great, Walter. Thank you very much, and congratulations, both of you. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Mike. Pilsudski wins the Breeders' Cup turf in the European sweep as Michael Stout runs 1-2, as Nick Zito did earlier in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. The time, 2:30 and 1/5, ranks as the second slowest ever for the Breeders' Cup turf, which indicates that that turf course was indeed a bit soggy after all the rain earlier in the week. European horses actually took the first 4 spots, with the American mare Windsharp finishing 5th. Awad looked like he was going to make a move for a while, flattened out, finished 9th. Diplomatic Jet faded after setting some of the early pace to 12th. Chief Bearheart, the Canadian horse, could only manage 11th. And of course, Rick's Natural Star eased at the finish. Well, The star is in the house. Cigar on his way to the paddock, looking for his second consecutive Breeders' Cup Classic victory. And a victory for Cigar would also put trainer Bill Mott into the record book, perhaps win it for him, the title of top U.S. trainer. It's the pinnacle of a long climb to the top for Bill Mott.
Bill Mott. Hometown, Mobridge, South Dakota. High school sport, wrestling. Present profession, trainer. Horse, Cigar.
You pick up the entries for the race and look at the morning line odds and see that you're 4 to 5 in a $4 million race. There's times when I would have been glad to have been 4 to 5 in a $400 race.
Today, Toronto, Breeders' Cup 96. A long haul from wrestling in Mobridge.
Up from Woodbine, North America's richest race, the $4 million Breeders' Cup Classic. Here are the morning line odds. Darren Go and Atticus, the entry at 6 to 1. Dramatic Gold 12 to 1. Will's Way, a 3-year-old, at 15 to 1. Cigar opens at 4 to 5. Odds-on favorite. Yanks Music, we heard just a few moments ago, was a late scratch. The 3-year-old filly, the leading 3-year-old filly, will not go in the Classic. Editor's note: 3-year-old colt, Belmont winner, 15 to 1. Preakness winner Louis Couture's at 12. The Alphabet Suit, Tamiya's Formal Gold in Mahogany Hall. Formal Gold in Mahogany Hall in the field. All are long shots. Well, this is beautiful Woodbine, now 40 years old, and we told you that there is a great Canadian tradition of thoroughbred racing. Man of War raced in Canada. In fact, he faced Sir Barton, who was Canadian-owned, the Triple Crown winner. When Man of War was 3 and Sir Barton was 4, it was a match race at Kenilworth Park in Windsor, Ontario, just across from Detroit, Michigan. Man of War won the race easily. And Secretariat, with a Canadian trainer, Lucien Lauren, and a Canadian jockey, Ron Turcotte, won the 1973 Triple Crown, and later that year provided Canadian racing fans with a memorable moment.
He's into the stretch. Secretariat leads his field by 18 lengths, and now Place of Prince is taken second, and Mike Ballard is moved down to third. They're in the stretch. Secretariat has opened a 22-length lead. He is going to be the Triple Crown winner. Here comes Secretariat to the wire. An unbelievable, an amazing performance. He hits the finish 25 lengths in front.
It was the pinnacle of an illustrious career. The first Triple Crown winner in 25 years. The mighty Secretariat, America's horse. His brilliant career, however, would not end in the U.S., but in the home country of his trainer and jockey, here at Woodbine, October 28, 1973, giving Canadian racing fans the opportunity to witness a champion. Secretariat's final performance before going to stud. In the days before the race, Ron Turcotte, Secretariat's jockey who had won the Triple Crown with him, was suspended for a riding infraction and was not allowed to ride Big Red in his last race. That honor went to 24-year-old Eddie Maple.
I was just tickled to death that, you know, that I was picked in one respect, and the closer it got to the race, now I'm starting to get a little worried that, you know, if anything should happen, this horse not win, you know, I would feel like a real bum.
For race fans from around the world, this was an historic day.
We came all the way from New York to watch Secretariat run, and we hope he wins.
I think it'll be a terrific. I wouldn't want to miss him for anything.
I don't come that often. I just came today because I want to see Secretariat run.
I come to see Secretariat race.
I feel this is the last chance I might see Secretariat ever race, so I thought I'd come to see him.
Oh, listen, we wouldn't have missed this for anything. If it was 4 feet of snow, he would have come. It's a super horse.
It was a nasty day. It was sleeting and raining and some snowflakes, maybe 38 degrees. they weren't going to miss the opportunity to see this race with this horse.
His toughest competition that day would come from Kennedy Road.
The post parade actually went pretty fast. I think we just went right to the starting gate.
Here on Kennedy Road comes away quickly on the outside to take the lead. And that is Secretariat now rushing up on the extreme outside to
He
go
was the
into
first one out of the gate. And I just kind of let him have his head, and he was in a nice stride going around that first bend, and we went across the dirt course, and he was just like a dream. And he followed Kennedy Road, the horse that was on the lead, and down the back stretch, the other horse kind of drifted out and bumped Secretariat just for half a stride. And it was almost like he just took off. He just took off without any warning to me. This horse just like, oh, you want to play like that? See you later, bud. Got to the lights, I just helped him get past the tote board, and even with the weather, you could just hear the people, they were just going crazy. And then he just cruised under the wire, very easy winner. I just thought to myself, I just rode the greatest horse in his last race, and I felt a little sorry, you know, when I came back that it was his last race, but I haven't experienced a feeling like that again.
Secretariat, a legend, and perhaps in spirit, part Canadian, too. Trainer Lucien Lauren, Canadian in the Hall of Fame, and so is jockey Ron Turcotte. What a shame that Ron couldn't ride Big Red on that last day here at Woodbine in Ron's native land. Now confined to a wheelchair, Ron Turcotte. I know you rode him on some of your horses. Huh?
Yes, and he also rode for my father. I tell you, Ron Turcotte was a great rider. He had that instinct, that drive, and that aggression that really makes a good, tough rider. He had a wonderful feel of strength. He would never abuse a horse, but he could get a tremendous amount of a run out of a horse, whether it be a filly or a colt. And tragically, in '73, he probably sat on one of the greatest horses we'll ever see. And in '78, he was paralyzed in a terrible fall at Belmont Park. But he'll always be remembered. He was remembered here in Canada as a great apprentice and a great gentleman rider. And certainly in the United States, he made his fame in and into the Hall of Fame on the great back of Secretariat.
And of course, our former jockey Greg McCarron was a colleague. Greg, Ron Turcotte, I think, watching today. Nice to remember Secretariat and Ron Turcotte.
Tom, I tell you, I rode with Ron many, many times, and the thing that stands out most in my mind is what a hard-nosed competitor he was. He'd give you all you wanted any time during the race. And the first few times I saw him was in my formative years, and he definitely was one of those riders that you'd want to look to and learn from. But as tough a competitor as he was on the track, when you get back to the jocks room, he always found time to take you aside, tell you what you might have done right or wrong. And he was a great teacher of young riders. He always took the time for them. As John said, he was a great rider, and we'll remember him as a great rider. Tom?
All right, Greg, and Penny Tweedy, Secretariat's owner, here at the races, Breeders' Cup at Woodbine today. There is Cigar, and Cigar, of course, has drawn a huge crowd, as you see, gathered around him here in Woodbine. And after being 4-5 on the morning line, he's been bet down now to 3-5. Will's Way is getting some play at 6-1. The entry still at 8-1. Taiki Blizzard, the Japanese invader, we see at 17. Yanks Music was scratched, which we heard just a few moments ago. Let's go down to Bob Newmeyer.
Tom, you mentioned a huge crowd, and it is an overflow throng to see Mr. Alan Paulson's great Cigar. And Alan, as we count down to this post time of what could be Cigar's final race, your thoughts, and will it in fact be Cigar's final race?
Well, we'll see how he comes out of this one. It's 2-3 months before he'd have to get ready for stud, so there's an opportunity there if it comes up that we might look at.
When you say an opportunity, I know that some racetracks here in the States have talked to you about a possible last hurrah, and I also know there's a possibility of a match race between you and the winner of the Arc de Triomphe. Is that true?
Well, I had a call on it, and I told him I'd make a decision after his Breeders' Cup run here.
So this might not be Cigar's last run after all, according to his owner, Alan Paulson. Tom?
All right, Bob, as you look at a $30 million horse, that's what Alan Paulson was offered for Cigar from Japanese interests, and he turned it down. Well, we told you Yanks music. The 3-year-old filly was scratched. To tell us why, here's Mike.
Tom, I'm joined by equine surgeon Larry Bramlage, and he talked to the vet that scratched Yanks music. What was the problem?
Well, Dr. Monday looked at her. She passed veterinary inspection every day, each morning, all week long. When they took her bandages off to get her ready to come to the race, she had a little bit of inflammation in an ankle. A lot of her career is still ahead of her. She's not ready to take on Cigar with that.
So the injury is not serious?
Well, with all the diagnostic work's not done, but it was looked to be very minor. But we don't want to go into the race with something like that.
But it just goes to show you the fragility of these horses. Yanks music gets all the way ready to come up, take on Cigar, and a last-minute injury forces the scratch, Tom.
All right, Mike, a disappointment for her connections, but Cigar still rules as the favorite. We'll have more with him when we come back from the word after your local station. Welcome back to Woodbine in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Superstars always draw a crowd, and you saw the crowd on the paddock looking at that one, the great champion Cigar. The journey began 39 years ago in Dallas. It included a stop in El Paso, where he won with his first mount, and has finally led Jerry Bailey to New York, the Hall of Fame, and the top of the jockey standings. Jerry Bailey is America's top jockey. He's already broken his own record for earnings in a year. Hall of Famer, winner of 4 Breeders' Cup Classics, and this year's Kentucky Derby. Last year, at the age of 38, he had the honor of riding the greatest horse of this decade, Cigar. All this for a kid who was too short for basketball, too small for football, too slow for track. Riding since the age of 15, Bailey paid his dues, bided his time until the great champion appeared. With his skills honed to their finest edge, Jerry Bailey on Cigar often found himself just a passenger.
Most horses that I ride, and especially good horses, you can feel the effort that they put forth as you're closing in on horses or going by horses. Cigar, you don't feel too much. You just see yourself whizzing by them one by one by one.
And whiz by them they did. Even though Jerry Bailey rode other horses 5 days a week, the ride on Cigar earned him fame, fortune, and responsibility.
Jerry Bailey calls on Cigar for everything he has. And here he is, the unconquerable, invincible, unbeatable Cigar.
I thought there was nothing that could unfold in a race that Cigar couldn't overcome. Traffic, pace, anything. I was obviously wrong.
In the hands of Jerry Bailey, Cigar seemed invincible. No one ever doubted horse or jockey. When defeat came on August 10th, after a record equaling 16 straight wins, there was disbelief.
I saw Jerry look at Cigar and Cigar look at Jerry, and I saw the love that they both had for each other, and I think they both felt they let each other down. That was, there we go, but that was sad.
Everyone expects me to win. I mean, from the owner and the trainer, to my wife, to my son Justin, who doesn't know all that much about horse racing. I can recall after the Pacific Classic and after the Jockey Club Gold Cup, coming home and having to tell Justin that Cigar got beat, and he said, "Oh, Dad?"
All the country responded the same way. How could it have happened? Once, maybe a fluke. But on Cigar's home track just 3 weeks ago, Cigar was once again defeated. Now it was time for introspection.
I thought I could win. Now, whether I underestimated Skip Away, whether I overestimated what Cigar could do versus Skip Away, I don't know what the real answer to that is. And maybe a little combination of both. But it was apparent after the race that I left a little bit too much for Cigar to do in the last quarter of a mile.
Today, It's up to Cigar and Jerry Bailey. And there they are, making their way toward the Woodbine track in the $4 million Breeders' Cup Classic. We'll rejoin Bailey, Cigar, and all the Classic runners when we return to Woodbine. Welcome back to Toronto, where we approach the $4 million Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's update the odds. The entry at 8-1. Will's Way, 3-year-old talented winner of the Travers, is 6-1. Cigar 3-5. I think it was 3-5 last year when he won the Breeders' Cup Classic, trying to be the first ever to win them back-to-back. Everybody else is double digits, including the Belmont and Preakness winners. And the first ever Japanese entry in the Breeders' Cup Classic, getting an early start on things. This is on tape from a couple of moments ago. Galloping off with jockey Okabe before the post parade. Had to get permission from the stewards to do that. Here are the horses. Number 1 is Dare and Go, who dared to challenge the mighty Cigar and beat him in the Pacific Classic, extinguishing Cigar's streak at 16. Mandela and Solis hope to upset the champion again after a troubled trip in his last start, the Goodwood. 1A Atticus, the other half of the Pressel Farm entry of the Wertheimer brothers of Switzerland, who manufacture Chanel perfume. Atticus returned from a 2.5-month layoff to win the Kentucky Cup Classic. 2 horses, Taiki Blizzard, there he is already on the back stretch. Japanese owned, trained and ridden, but Kentucky bred. This trip was mapped out 2 years ago. Then Taiki Farm sent a filly from Japan to race in New York last March. One of the things they learned from that trial run was to send a companion. And so Taiki Blizzard has a traveling companion for this trip. He's earned nearly $4 million in Japan. Is he good enough here? 3 horses, Canadian-based Mount Sassafras, should show some early foot. 1-4-3 at this distance on this Woodbine track. A long shot, though, in this spot. Number 4 is Will's Way, the 3-year-old colt, trained by Bond, James Bond. Actually, Harold James Bond, who will have to tackle Cigar without those fancy gadgets 007 uses. If he returns to his Travers form, though, when he beat Louis Quatorze and Skipaway, he could be tough. 5-horse Dramatic Gold, bred and owned by Mr. and Mrs. John Mabie's Golden Eagle Farm. Took home the gold after the Meadowlands Cup, but was way up the track behind Dare and Go and Cigar in the Pacific Classic. May have heard the applause. That was for Cigar as he passes in front of the grandstand. Maybe more than ever the star of the show, because he's proven to be vulnerable, like Michael Johnson when he lost that 200-meter race prior to the Olympics. Cigar still has an amazing streak, 17 of 19. He could make history with back-to-back Classic wins. Likely horse of the year no matter what happens today. Already in the annals of thoroughbred greats. Yanks music was scratched. You're looking at editor's note. The 3-year-old who won the Belmont Stakes for Overbrook and Lucas. The problem, consistency, inconsistency, though his closing fractions to finish 4th in the Gold Cup were competitive. 9-horse Louis Quatorze, another 3-year-old Classic winner, hero of the Preakness for Nick Zito. Early speed and tough. 3rd to Skipaway and Cigar in the Gold Cup, but a dismal 7th and last on this track in the Woodbine Million. 10-horse Alphabet Soup. Like the name, his dam, his mother was illiterate by arts and letters. Georgia Ritter, the widow of Ben Ritter of the Knight Ritter newspaper chain, named him. Disqualified in a controversial call by the Santa Anita stewards in the Goodwood Handicap. The 11 is Tamayez, son of Gone West, bred in Ontario by Winfield's Farm. He's raced all over Europe, and he does have a win on the dirt in Dubai, though he was beaten 12 lengths by Cigar there last March. 2 horses in the mutual field, 12 Formal Gold, a Canadian-bred son of Classic winner Black Tie Affair, won the Breeders' Cup Classic under Jerry Bailey. This 3-year-old colt, though, has never won a stakes race. And 13 in the field, the late-running Mahogany Hall, ridden by Shane Sellers, who replaces Jose Santos, his jockey the last 5 times. Mahogany Hall beat 1 horse in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. So Cigar has been enjoying his stay here at Woodbine with a special pen in back of his bar, and they've called it the Cigar Box. And Madeline Paulson's dog Oliver got a special press pass, enabling him to enter the stable area. So the privileges of stardom for Cigar and his connections. Well, remember, Breeders' Cup Preview Day, the Jockey Club Gold Cup, both our handicappers picked Cigar, and you remember the result. Guys, what about today?
Well, Tom, I think that, while Cigar is odds on here this afternoon, I think that he's proved that he's not invincible anymore with losses coming in the Pacific Classic and the Jockey Club Gold Cup. He's lost 2 out of his last 3 races coming into this Breeders' Cup Classic today, and they know that they can beat him now, Bob.
Well, he's also not exactly young in the tooth. He's a 6-year-old. There's been 6 6-year-olds run in the history of the Breeders' Cup. Only one of them has even hit the board. I think that's an often overlooked point here, and maybe he has lost a step since his terrific spring and summer campaign. With that in mind, let's go shopping for an entry. Atticus with Richard Mandela. This is a front-running type. Kind of shows a profile of Cigar. Turf originally, he's 2 for 2 in the dirt. He will be on the lead today. Now, his entry mate, you might recall, is the horse that beat Cigar at Del Mar and ended the long streak. His name is Dare and Go, and you can look for him early in the race from the back markers. This is, in fact, the race at Del Mar when he passed Cigar in the stretch and went on to win. So at about 8 or 10 to 1, I don't think it's a bad price. You get one that runs on the lead. You get one that runs from behind, kind of like a lefty-righty out of the bullpen. I'll go for the number 1 entry.
Well, you know, I think Bill Mott's got that same combination, but it's all rolled into one Cigar. This horse can do anything. I know that he's been beaten 2 out of his last 3. He is still a great horse. He comes off into this race. He's ran 7 times this year on 7 starts this year on 6 different tracks. He's never met a racetrack that he didn't like. I think he'll handle the Woodbine surface. I think the pace will be legitimate in front of him. I think you'll see the real Cigar today, and I think he'll romp home in the Breeders' Cup.
Any thoughts on a long shot?
Well, I think editors note Wayne Lucas always has his horses ready for the big races. I think that this horse is coming in at his peak, and give him a shot at a price. How about you?
I'm an 0 for today, so I got to go for a hunch finally. It's been reduced to that. Formal Gold. He's owned by a Boston guy. I saw Boston Harbor win the 2-year-olds. Got to stick with the hub. All right, Tom Hammond.
All right, guys. Coming up, the Breeders' Cup Classic will light the cigar when we return.
The Breeders' Cup Classic is sponsored by Mobil Motor Oil. At Mobil, we've been changing oil for over 125 years.
Post time approaching for the $4 million Breeders' Cup Classic. Check of the odds. The entry's 7, so is Will's Way. Cigar remains the 3-5 favorite. And everybody else double digits in this race for North America's richest purse. 1.25 miles is the standard American Classic distance. Cigar and the others to race 1.25 miles here. At Woodbine, it starts up the chute at the end of the stretch, by the finish line the first time, then a complete circuit of the track to the wire for the winner's share of that $4 million purse. And 55% of those responding on our interactive MSNBC poll pick Cigar. He's 3-5. Greg McCarron, is he acting properly coming to the starting gate?
Yeah, he sure is, Tom. The only thing somewhat out of the ordinary is Tyke Blizzard came right to the starting gate and has been circling in very small circles behind the gate with a couple of handlers. Everything else is going quite well.
All right, Cigar trying to make history. No horse has ever won back-to-back Breeders' Cup Classic races. Cigar's place in the annals of racing's greats already has been established. He did that with that 16-race winning streak, which tied Citation's mark. This, if not his last race, one of the last, and certainly the last time we'll see him in the Breeders' Cup. Regular jockey Jerry Bailey poised for another championship run. If they can make it, it would certainly mean he goes out in a blaze of glory. Cigar continues as the 3-5 favorite to make Breeders' Cup and racing history. And as they load into the gate, let's go back up to Tom Durkin for the call of the $4 million Breeders' Cup Classic, sponsored by the Mobil Corporation.
Strategy here could become a big factor as far as Cigar goes. He hasn't seen the rail in a long time. Jerry Bailey likes to keep him on the outside. Has been that way in almost every one of his victories, the 16 in a row in particular. But the outside has not been the place to be this afternoon. We'll see where Jerry Bailey guides Cigar in this Breeders' Cup Classic. Final horse to load into the gate. Tommy Oz on the far outside. Cigar in the gate, ready for a title defense in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And they're off. Cigar breaks alertly right there in mid-pack, down toward the inside. Darren Go secures his position. Mount Sassafras. Here comes Louis Quatorze. And on the outside, Atticus. Atticus has come on to take the early lead. Mount Sassafras down inside. Louis Quatorze is in between them. Alphabet Soup, the gray, is there on the outside. Tamayaz is showing some speed. Darren Go is there. And Cigar has come out running in 7th position. He's in behind horses on the outside as the field moves into the clubhouse turn. Now Bailey guides him over a bit toward the inside. Dramatic Gold is following Cigar as they enter the clubhouse turn. Japan's Taiki Blizzard running 3 wide. The Belmont winner, editor's note, 4 wide round the first turn. Former Gold down inside. Will's Way is lingering near the back of the pack. And 6 lengths behind the rest of them is stretch running Mahogany Hall. The pace is swift. A 22-4 first quarter and a 46-2. Come and get me half mile for pacemaker Atticus. He continues to carry the field along at a strong pace. He leads by 2.5 lengths. Louis Quatorze is running in 2nd. Mount Sassafras is 3rd. The gray Alphabet Soup is 4th. And Cigar is 5th. Bailey has him on the clear and on the outside. Dramatic Gold is there toward the inside. There's a half mile left. The field moving into the far turn. Atticus still leading the way. Louis Quatorze trying to get to him. There goes Alphabet Soup. Cigar on the outside. Mount Sassafras is coming through on the inside. Dramatic Gold is in behind horses. Tamayaz is still in with a chance. Then Former Gold and Darren Go around the far turn. There goes Cigar with that patented bold move on the far turn, but he will be hung up 5 wide as the field turns into the stretch. Mount Sassafras is coming away with the narrow lead. Cigar trying to get him as they reach the top of the stretch. Louis Quatorze and Alphabet Soup fighting on gamely. Mount Sassafras clinging desperately to the lead. Alphabet Soup in with an upset chance. Cigar, the heart of it champion, trying to get him. It's Alphabet Soup. Cigar on the outside. Louis Quatorze. Alphabet Soup has scored a shocking upset. Cigar has been denied another victory in the Breeders' Cup Classic. There they are as they came under the line, and it was Alphabet Soup and Chris McCarron. A brilliant ride today. Cigar was hung up wide the whole way. I am sure that was the winning difference this afternoon.
Well, you're right, Tom Durkin, as Alphabet Soup, the gray son of Cozine, who himself was a Breeders' Cup winner, pulls the upset here in 2:01 flat with Louis Quatorze and Cigar. Coming to the head of the stretch, Cigar was parked 5 wide. He unleashes that patented move, but he just can't get there. Mount Sassafras begins to fade on the rail. The gray Alphabet Soup is there. Louis Quatorze between them. This is a horse, Alphabet Soup, that nearly went in the sprint. Instead, he goes 1.25 miles and upsets the great champion. The gray horse, Alphabet Soup, and Chris McCarron battling between horses. Louis Quatorze there between horses in tight. Cigar just out of your picture on the outside. Eating into the margin gradually, but having that wide trip all the way around. He just does not have quite enough closing kick. Alphabet Soup holding off Louis Quatorze 2nd and Cigar 3rd to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's go to Greg McCarron. I'm sure you'll have a happy word from Brother Chris.
Tom, I sure do. Chris is just beaming. He is talking to his horse, and Chris, he did a great job.
Hi, Mom, Dad. Everybody, how you doing? This is old Soupy Sales here.
It looked like a real tough stretch drive, and you told me that this horse gets real game when he's headed.
Greg, this horse has got a heart as big as this racetrack, and he's just dead game. He loves to run. He makes you ride him, you know. He makes me work. That's why I'm blowing so hard. But, God, what a thrill. What a thrill.
And this show makes up for the last time when he was disqualified.
Oh, does it ever? Yeah.
I know the little story about that. Congratulations, Chris.
Thanks a lot, Greg. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Back to you, Tom.
All right, guys. Got to break you guys up. Alphabet Soup, the upset winner of the Breeders' Cup Classic. He's a Pennsylvania bred in the Keystone State by Southeast Associates. He upsets Cigar and the field to win North America's richest race. Is it Cigar's last time? We'll find out.
The 1996 Breeders' Cup is brought to you by Buick and your local dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. By Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. By Alberto VO5 for great hair. VO5 does so much. And by Pringles, so fresh once you pop, you can't stop.
In the gloaming at Woodbine, where Alphabet Soup has pulled the upset in the Classic, paying $41.70. Alphabet Soup, owned by the Ritter Thoroughbred Stable, trained by David Hoffman's a 5-year-old horse by Cozine out of Alliterate by Arts and Letters, giving Chris McCarron his 3rd Classic victory after earlier booting home Sunday Silence and Ali Sheba, and he did it in track record time 2:01 flat. It was a tough trip for Cigar and Jerry Bailey today, and Jerry's with Mike Battaglia.
Okay, Tom and Jerry, tell us about the trip.
Well, I got into the first turn fine. It was pretty quick up front, and I was happy to be where I was. Down the backside, I eased him out for a clear run because there was simply nowhere to go inside, at least for me. And I needed him to pick up horses a little bit down the backside, which he did, but it was tough for him again today. And they were running right along. They really were. And he never quit. I mean, he finished 3rd, but he never quit. And to do what he's done this year, he's a champion.
The horse ran a great race. He came up to horses. He was wide into the stretch. You think that could have cost him?
Well, I'd rather have been able to save the ground.
Here, look at the replay.
Absolutely, but, you know, you got to play the hand that's dealt you, and there was no chance for me to get inside. I had to just simply follow Alphabet Soup and then go around him when I had a chance. And, you know, it's whoever wins. If they're all heads up here at the 8th pole,
and you've been in this position with Cigar many times before. Do you think he's lost a step, honestly?
Well, it's been a long 2 years, actually. And to go to Dubai and back and all the things he's done, I think it's great that he's still around. And he's certainly great for the game.
Okay, Jerry. Thank you a lot. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Mike. And I sort of agree with Jerry. He didn't really say it, but I think Cigar may have lost a step from the great races we saw last year and in Dubai earlier this year. Chris McCarron celebrating. David Hoffman's the trainer. And but he showed his gameness, didn't he? Cigar again unleashed that move, John Veach, and you have to admire the heart of a champion. Once again, he left it all out there on the track.
He really did. He had all the worst of it today. 4 wide, turning for home. We've seen that is a very difficult thing to overcome. He never gave it up. He battled to the very end. He wasn't beaten a neck or even a half a length at the very most, and he certainly came out of this race, I would have to think, older horse of the year and champion horse of the year. I mean, he has done more than any other horse consistently all year long.
What did I tell you earlier about Nakatani wearing that noseband? I said they'd all be wearing them after he won 2. Chris McCarron and Alphabet Soup, the heroes of the Breeders' Cup Classic. We'll be back to Woodbine. Sun sets on another Breeders' Cup day, and for the 3rd time in his last 4 races, no Cigar. If Cigar does not race again, he will end his career with earnings of $9,999,815, just short of $10 million. But the hero, the first Pennsylvania bred to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, Alphabet Soup. Here's Mike with a presentation.
All right, we're here with the winning connections, Mrs. Georgia Ritter, trainer David Hoffman, rider Chris McCarron. To make the presentation, we have Bob O'Leary, general manager, public relations, Mobile Corporation.
What an outstanding day. First, what a great day for racing. What a tribute to the people of Toronto. What great hospitality. You know, the Pegasus, the flying horse, is a symbol of Mobile Corporation that we're very proud of. I now saw a horse fly without wings. You should be very proud. I hope you enjoy this trophy as much as I think you already are. On behalf of all of the people of Mobile Corporation around the world, it's my pleasure to present you with the 1996 Breeders' Cup Classic Trophy. Congratulations.
I'll hold this. And David, you set a track record in the process. 2:01 flat, a fantastic effort. This horse really coming around toward the end of the year.
Yeah, he is. He's coming up to this race great. I knew there'd be a track record today, but I thought Cigar would do it. But I said to Chris, if you're close at the 8th pole, this little gray horse will give you everything he has. He'll go right after anybody.
And Chris, did you know that was Cigar and Bailey on your outside all the time?
Oh, I knew exactly who it was. I saw that white star on his face about the half-mile pole, Mike, and this horse is dead game. I just want to thank the Mobile Corporation once again for sponsoring, all the other sponsors, and thank Woodbine for putting on a great show.
Great. Thank you a lot. All right, back to you, Tom.
All right, Mike. Alphabet Soup with the upset win in the Breeders' Cup Classic, carrying that purse of $4 million for the first time. Chris McCarron and all the jockeys. Hey, nose bands, breathe right strips all around. Bring them out for everybody.
Thanks again.
Yes.
As Alphabet Soup continues his walk back to the stable area where the celebration will begin. And the sun sets on the first time ever that the Breeders' Cup has come outside the United States. Well, Cigar's runs during that string will leave us a memory to savor. The enduring image of a champion and the heart of one, too, as he gave it his best once again today in the $4 million Breeders' Cup Classic. Thanks once again to the MetLife blimp Snoopy 1, providing us with these great aerial shots of Woodbine Racecourse today. Tom Durkin, what about the nose bands? Can we all get one?
Well, what the heck, if I was a jockey, maybe I'd have won $1 million race, 3 out of the 7. And you know what? I feel much better now, Tom.
And so do we. And after all, it is Halloween, okay? Well, it was a giant success this day at Woodbine. I was struck by the thought and the sight of all the fans crowding the rail to see the mighty Cigar, even though he came up a bit empty, finishing 3rd. Mike, Bob, final thoughts.
Well, bittersweet, I think. I would have liked to have seen Cigar beat. I'm very happy for Chris McCarron and Alphabet Soup, but the end of an era for Cigar.
Just thrilled for Corey Nakatani and his entire family. Congratulations, Nakatanis. Carry on. Tom?
And John Veach?
I think that Cigar ended his career with glory today. He took nothing away from himself. He fought every step of the way.
And Trevor Denman.
Well, tremendous day. Great day's racing. Great for Woodbine. Great for the horse racing industry. Tremendous afternoon.
Breeders' Cup 13 from Toronto sees Alphabet Soup take the big prize. Their ancestors come from the cradle of civilization. Running through history, these equine wonders today compete in horse racing's richest day. The Breeders' Cup has come north to Canada. A perfect day for racing began on a musical note. Storm Song gave Nick Zito his first Breeders' Cup victory, pulling away from Love That Jazz and the Juvenile Fillies. In the sprint, it was a day of firsts. Jockey Corey Nakatani, dedicating his mounts to the memory of his slain sister, brought lead as Justice from last to first in a ride that was both inspiring and inspired. Janine Sahadi became the first female trainer to win a Breeders' Cup race. But it was Nakatani's moment to savor. With an angel on his shoulder and a princess on the track, Nakatani again rode to victory on Jewel Princess in the Distaff. His emotional swing now complete. DeHaas dashed European hopes in the mile. American Gary Stevens riding to victory on the Canadian grass. Toronto proved hospitable to Boston Harbor, who held off Acceptable in the Juvenile. Dwayne Lucas, again, just a little bit better than old rival Nick Zito at the Breeders' Cup. Much anticipated European success finally came to fruition on the grass. The turf saw a European sweep on the green, where naturally Irish horses like Winner Pildowski are most comfortable. Jockey Walter Swinburne capping a difficult year with his first ever Breeders' Cup victory. Like Nakatani, his emotional pendulum in full swing. And fortunately, the sad story of Rick's Natural Star concluded on the track without incident. And in the Classic, was it the last ride aboard Cigar for Jerry Bailey? Would they win back-to-back Classics and enter racing history? They gave it their best shot, but came up just a little short. Alphabet Soup and Louis Quatorze with Cigar 3rd. Chris McCarron with the victory on the long shot Alphabet Soup in the Classic. Now, Tom Hammond saying so long for our entire Breeders' Cup crew. Thanks for joining us from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and Woodbine Racecourse.
The NFL, the NBA.